Hello, hello, welcome aboard, dear travelers. I am Alter Delirio, the star inhabiting the abandoned space station. Today we will be playing My Bed, Your Grave by the same person behind the Centra. Please note the content warning that are pinned in the comments. As just a general thing though, this game is intending for a 17 plus audience. There will be depictions of partial nudity, blood, gore, body horror, violence, self harm, and other such themes related with said topics. So, viewer discretion is advised. Please take care of yourself. Without further ado, let's begin. The heart in my hands lays heavy. With the tip of my nail, I make a thin slice, then push a water lily seed into the small incision. I've done all kinds of seeds, lotuses, poppies, hyacinths, but the lily is my favorite. Once I'm done, I drop the heart into the pond and wait. When gentle bubbles begin to rise to the surface, I know the flower has finally bloomed. I dip my arm into the water, searching. Found her. I pull her up by her hair. Coming up for air, Sana comes up a lungful of water. Her hand stays her neck, her body trembling as she hacks out any remaining water. I can see it slowly crawl up her throat. I reach out and tip her head up to me, observing her watery eyes and blotchy cheeks. Waking up is always so hard for her. She clings to me with desperation. With one hand, I smooth the clumps of wet hair from her cheeks, then with the other, I dip my fingers into the cavern of her mouth. Sana rises and whimpers as I press down on her tongue, trying to dig deeper into her throat. Ah, there it is. I feel Sana's claws pierce through my sleeves and press down on my skin, but not enough to break it, not yet. I start to pull the water lily out. Sana cries as it scrapes her throat. Right before I pull it completely free, she shoves it away from me and retches it out. I watch as it plops into the water and gently bobs away. Sana gags and steadies her hands on rocks that line the edge of the pond to catch her breath. Jesus! Her voice is raw from the flower. It's been so long since I've heard it. I blink away the sting in my eyes. The glossiness in Sana's eyes finally fades away. Her eyes snap to me. A fucking water lily, Lycia? The corner of my mouth sticks up for a second. You know those are the hardest ones to get out. The roll of my eyes grabs her attention. Sana's mouth snaps shut and her gaze narrows. I feel myself shrink a little. I clench my jaw in anticipation of what she might say. How long has it been this time? My shoulders loosen a little. I tilt my chin up and look down at her. 100 years, give or take. Sana's eyes slowly widen. She squeezes them shut and turns her head away. I see her suck in a deep breath before clenching and unclenching her fists. She opens them again and starts to look around. Her eyes sweep over the blanket of lily pads, the overgrown flower bushes, the tangled lawn. Then me. Her eyes visibly bulge when she finally notices the clothes I wear. Red creeps up her neck as her jaw hangs open at the sight of my bare legs. Girl, you are naked! Girl, you are naked and you're blushing over... Okay. 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 No, that's fair though. I get it. I understand. Fashion has changed a lot over the past 100 years, it seems. Do you not feel super exposed like that? Sana. Sana. You're as bare as a babe right now, Sana. fair. She shakes her head and moves on, looking past me to the estate that stood tall for centuries. Once a grand and proud building, it has now withered into a shell of its former prime. Whatever Sana thinks of it all is not revealed in her expression. There's a rare seriousness that emphasizes the lines around her eyes and mouth, the proof of how alive she is. My brows furrow. I don't want her to look at anything else anymore. Anything but me is a waste of time. Okay. Okay. My time. I've had so much of it. Any more and I'll claw my own eyes out so I no longer have to witness it circle around me in spite. Sana? Her eyes come back to me, as they always should. Lycia? I square my shoulders and straighten my spine. It's time to end this. I don't even get to put clothes on before you try to kill me again. This pond is always so cold and stagnant, no matter the season. If you don't let me get out soon, I'll become one of the fishes. Or worse. I'll be wrinkled like a prune, and then you'll have to wring out the water from my body like a load of laundry. My temper snaps. I let out an exasperated sound. Are you bloody finished yet? I sigh, and my posture deflates. No, Sana. I'm gonna give you what you want, so I can get what I want. A wrinkle appears between Sana's brows. What do you mean? Kill me. Sana goes still. She stares at me silently. I watch her eyes slide side to side, searching both my eyes as if one told the truth and the other a lie. My words hang in the air, heavily or lightly has yet to be decided. Sana bursts into laughter. Her head is thrown back in a raucous cackle, her arms wrap around her middle, and her shoulders shake from the exertion of her laugh. I clench my fists and strain my face to remain stoic as humility creeps up my neck. Suddenly, almost abruptly, she stops and her expression goes flat. Lycia, are you giving up? I narrow my eyes at her. I'm done. This game is over. It's gotten boring. She gives me a condescending smirk that makes me feel ruffled. I resist the urge to pat down my clothes and hair, as if smoothing flyaways will also smooth down my rising agitation. Oh, and this is how you want it to end? Want me to rip your head off and toss you into a pit of fire, wipe my hands together, then move on, just like that? That's the only way for this to be finished. This? Pray tell, what is this? I think I lost the definition of this 100 deaths ago. My shoulders tremble. Annoyance is a coil in my belly, ready to snap, but Sana isn't done. Though I guess with you, it's not possible for us to simply go on our merry ways with a formal goodbye. Have a good life. My teeth grind together so hard I can't even form a single retort. Sana looks down at her reflection in the dark waters of the pond. For a while, she says nothing. Are you in the mood to tear down every tapestry we share again? Do you return to the beginning every time you throw out my corpse? Because every time I've woken up, I've continued right where we left off. She lifts her eyes and beams them at me, forcibly gripping me with her yellow irises. If that's true, do you die with me every time you kill me? Is that all this has been to you? Am I just a counterfeit reaper that lets you have a close brush with the thing you crave so dearly? She breathes deeply, and her eyes flick around the pond like she doesn't know where to place them anymore. Do you wake up feeling renewed whenever I crawl out of this pond? Like everything that has happened before then has been rendered insignificant? Because I swallow nervously when she finally decides on a place to land her gaze. The first thing I look for when I wake up is always... She looks straight at me. The intensity in her irises makes my skin feel like it's caught onto a flame. I turn my side away and press my eyes shut. Lycia, do you remember when we first met? How could I forget? You tried to kill me. I hear her let out a small chuckle. And yet, I was the one that ended up dead. A small smile stretches across my lips. I almost forget to wipe it away. I look back at Sana and realize she had caught it anyway. I curse in the back of my mind. Senna looks beyond me and towards the old brick house that's been my home for centuries. It was right here, in this garden. You've gotten bored before, Alicia, and every time I come back, you mold me into whatever you need so that I can become your muse again. If anyone were to be the natural enemy of vampires, it would be werewolves. Where vampires cannot walk in the day, they could. Still, they are not without their supernatural shackles, which comforted every vampire's slight dispositions. In the beginning, it was simple. It was our nature. There was no need to think about it too deeply. That night was our third night in the estate. The house shined like a beacon at the top of the hill, overlooking a small town known for its nothingness. Candles and chandeliers lit up every window, igniting it with life and fervor. The estate stood tall and pointed like a crown. It was all new brick, vaulted roofs and tapered spires. Inside, we danced like royalty, the way vampires at the time loved to do. We were immortal. The predators of the night, we acted like we were gods with ichor running through our veins. But like moths to a flame, they came. I'd stolen myself away while the night was still young, to throw daggers at the growing oak tree behind the estate. I noticed her, and thought she was one of our meals that had slipped away. I'd indulged so much that night already, the human blood coursed through me like sparkling liquor. I felt like I was floating amongst the stars. Pulled her in with my thrall, I always had room for a treat. Blood passed through our home like wine, we were drunk off it every day. She accepted my hand and let me draw her closer. Her eyes were clear, a strange shade of jello that I found myself lingering on before I sank my fangs into her pulse. I threw up in the damp grass the second her mud blood touched the back of my throat. After emptying all the blood in my stomach onto the ground and my skirt, I straightened and clearly saw what she was now that my bliss was all over the lawn. I've never tasted blood so vile. It's a natural defense we've developed over the years against your kind. Looks like someone lets a stray dog in by mistake. We actually saw how much fun you bloodsuckers were having and invited ourselves in. The wolf gave me a lopsided grin, exposing a sharp canine frame by soft pink lips that attracted my eyes immediately. Not immediately getting attracted to her lips. Okay, girl. Okay. The roughness about her gave me chills across my skin, creating goosebumps where it touched. Her skin was bright in the moonlight, hair messy and feathery in the gentle breeze. Youth was still present in the softness of her thin face. It explained the reckless candor she carried herself with. I could still taste her acrid blood in my teeth as I swept my tongue over them. I know, that's a privilege you don't get to have. I wiped the leftover bile from my mouth then. Oh. She lunged for me. What else could I do but defend myself after that? What started as an epic fight to the death with my natural enemy quickly turned into a pathetic tangle of rapid kicks and hair pulling in the grass. If I were alive, my cheeks would have flamed with shame. Lowering myself to such hideous fisticuffs with this werewolf I had just met was the farthest thing from how I planned to spend my night. Girls don't flirt normally anymore. God forbid you say, "Hi, I think you're pretty, I think you're cute, hi." We only stopped when my coven siblings came and knocked us both out. We only stopped when we'd headbutted each other so hard it knocked us both out cold. We only stopped when we headbutted each other so hard it knocked us both out cold. Good. Okay, good. I'm so scared. For context, there's an affection meter that will kind of determine the ending. So, I do want to replay this though. If we manage to finish the entire thing today, then we will replay it tomorrow because there's meant to be new choices if you replay. Plus, there's like multiple endings I want to get, so. My coven siblings had rushed to find me before daybreak and found us sprawled on the ground like schoolchildren after playing too hard. A pack of werewolves had shown up uninvited to our banquet, and I had twin bruises with one of them. That night had left such a strong first impression that I had cemented something to be fact before I even knew her name. This wolf was mine. She would be my enemy for life. I would hate her as far as like... I mean... This wolf was mine. The very next evening, I threw a bucket of icy water over her head to wake the werewolf up. Yeah! Lesbian breakups is like, it would ruin your life. The very next evening, I threw a bucket of icy water over her head to wake the werewolf up. Her shriek made my ears ring. She hissed as she started to come to. An ugly goose egg was still in the process of deflating on the middle of her forehead. My own had long since healed. Her arm shifted in an attempt to smooth a hand over the swollen bump, but the shackles around her wrists prevented her from doing so. That seemed to snap her into full wakefulness. She looked at the heavy iron chains that currently imprisoned her against the stone wall of her cellar before shifting her gaze to me. Is this how you vamps treat all your guests? You're not a guest, you're a trespasser. Do you werewolves have no self-preservation, bursting into a vampire's den to ruin their fun? Aw, did we sour the taste of blood for you? We were just doing our laundry when a new pest infestation arrives. We exterminate it. I blink at her, then bring a hand up to cover the laugh that bubbles out from my chest. How cute! You think you're any match for us? That made the wolf bristle. Clearly you think too highly of yourselves. We outnumber you. In 1 month, you'll be nothing but ashes in the wind, and we won't have to worry about losing the whole population to your insatiable feeding frenzies. Oh, what a warm welcome, offering to entertain us during our stay here. Huh? I was not. You must still be quite young. You act like a little puppy. It's almost cute. Maybe I'll keep you. What size collar do you wear? Okay. But okay. You should also let me know your name so I know what to engrave on the tag. Am I your pet, bitch? I'm a werewolf, not some familiar. Did you even hear a fucking word I just said? Yes, yes. Come at me with all you've got. I look forward to killing you. And my name isn't bitch, it's Alicia, but you can call me master. Is this your definition of fun? Perhaps. I'm going to kill you all, so you bring no harm to this town, not to amuse you. But I'll find it entertaining anyways. Werewolves and vampires have been natural enemies forever. This is just fate. I may as well enjoy it. Have you ever thought of getting an actual hobby? Do vampires even like those? Gardening, maybe? Maybe bringing something to life will make you feel less dead. I'll consider it. The werewolf finally clams her mouth shut and I tap a finger on my chin. Let's see. What will I need to take care of you? Food, water, some enrichment, a ball perhaps. Do you know fetch? A muscle in her cheek. I'm sorry, I'm God. A muscle in her cheek twitches, but she remains silent. I brush imaginary dirt from my skirt and start to make my way out. I turn my back when suddenly, the sound of snapping chains and smashing windows rushed to my ears. When I look over my shoulder, the wolf is gone. On the floor, in messy scratches, I read the name, Sana. That wasn't going to be the last time I'd see Sana. In fact, it was the first of many. I had woken up the next day with a stake over my heart and Sana's innocent smile. Okay. I'd fold. This will get me. I'm sorry, this will get me. This would get me. I would simply just be like, well, guess we're married. Guess we're married now. Whoop. I had woken up the next day with a stake over my heart and Santa's innocent smile. I threw her out my window and carefully drew the thick curtains closed. Every day was a new attempt and a new failure. I enjoyed seeing all her efforts to put an end to me. In those early days, I could see her start to grow dark circles under her eyes. The satisfaction of seeing how crazed she was slowly becoming with every futile attempt made me feel delighted. Little Santa was working so hard, but she unfortunately wasn't doing a very good job at killing me. The closest I've ever felt to death by her hands during the useful period of our lives was the day she'd captured me and threw me in the river just outside the village. I don't breathe, so I couldn't drown, but vampires cannot swim in running water. For hours I floated at the bottom until I was finally fished out. My thoughts boiled for so long in the murky depths. I had every curse I wanted to spit at Santa rehearsed to perfection. But it wasn't her. I ended up in a hunter's cage. I wondered if Santa had sent them after me, sending someone to do the job for her. I kicked and hissed at the cage, trying to break the lock on the gate. A hunter tossed a simple wooden crucifix on the ground, and that was enough to send me shrieking away. I may not have been a fleshling at the time, but I was still young compared to my coven siblings. They spoke of a hunter's camp as they sharpened their stakes. Vampires were rarely alone. They had planned to use me as bait to bring out my family, and I had never felt like a bigger fool. I saw Santa in the trees. She never approached my cage. Instead, she grinned victoriously. I would not let her get away with thinking she won. So of course I yelled, "A werewolf!" "Really, Lycia? That is all your fault." "Actually, it's all your fault." Santa flinched against my back. "Dumping me in the river won't kill me, but if your intention was to aggravate me, you've achieved it." I felt her lean forward and almost fall back in the tiny cage we had been crushed into. Oh. Santa mumbles something, but I don't hear it. Santa mumbles something, but I refuse to hear it. Okay. Santa mumbles something, but I didn't hear it. Did you really think getting hunters would end up in your favor? In case you haven't noticed, I'm trapped in here too. If you were actually serious about killing me, neither of us would be here. If you can't kill me, you should at least bury me alive. I would get a challenge, and I would enjoy seeing the look on your face after I crawled back from the grave. At this rate, I think I'll be tiring of you soon. The road behind me went eerily still. The wagon we traveled on rocked and creaked. Outside, the hunters speak to each other obnoxiously. Managing to catch both a young vampire and werewolf was cause for celebration, even more so if our capture could lure out more of our kind. To them, we're nothing more than another tally to the death toll. No, our deaths didn't even count as lives lost. We were monsters cleared out. The closer we got to the camp, the more I felt uneasy. Sana must have felt the same, because she hadn't said a single word as if lost in thought. The wagon jumped on a road bump, and in an instant my mouth betrayed me by releasing a small gasp. Whatever spell Sana had been under seemed to have snapped because she suddenly yelled, "Hey, hey, idiots!" My jaw dropped. "What on earth are you doing?" She continued on as if she didn't hear me. "Hello, any of you bastards have working ears? I know your hearing isn't as great as mine, but you can hear me. I can make you guys rich." The wagon lurched to a violent stop that threw my body against the cage bars, with Sana falling against me. Sana's weight flattened me against the hard iron before the cart bounced and sent us sprawling in the other direction. I grunted at the feeling of her shoulder digging into my back and tried to shift away. But in doing so, I ended up falling back right into Sana's lap. Okay. We stared at one another with wide eyes. I tracked the movement of Sana's eyes, from my eyes to my nose to my mouth. It was like she never truly looked at a vampire this up close before. Well, I can't imagine they're often falling into her lap like this. Okay. The back of the wagon opened up, and I turned away to look at the hunters with their rifles and stakes at the ready. "There better be a good reason you've decided to waste our time by stopping." Sana proceeds to piss off the hunters. To stall them, Sana tells them about a witch. I'm gonna say... Sana tells them about a witch. Okay. A witch has come to town. The hunters immediately perked up. Apparently, she's also been hunting vampires. I went still as a stone and slowly turned my face back to Sana. Supernatural irises were fixed on me with an emotion I couldn't identify. Her mouth was set in a straight line and her eyes stared down heavily at me. Want to know what vampire parts are valuable to harvest? Can you flirt normally? Bile clawed up my throat from the pain. My vision had grown blurry and my head nodded side to side, heavy against the hard earth. The hunters had staked me to the ground. I was angry as they tore out every nail in my hands. I was livid when they sawed off my arms after. Surely the value of my pulled nails didn't decrease if my arms were severed from my body. Why would they? Every part of me was already dead. Cuts ran up my body from when they drained my blood. They had to keep opening up new ones because I kept healing too quickly. I raised my blurry eyes to Sana, still locked away in the cage. She was looking right at me. Her head would fetch you a good price too. If my arms were still attached, I'd be clenching my fist. I sneered and hissed as the hunters started to approach with daggers raised. Tears stung my eyes as they grabbed a fistful. I saw Sana look towards the sky just as a pale blue light filtered through the leaves. Darkness creeped the edges of my sight when she solemnly closed her eyes. I could barely tell what was happening. I heard the bang of metal and cries of panic, followed by a growl. Woo! Banger music, by the way. By the way, is the volume good? Like, yeah, Hot werewolf girlfriend to the rescue, let's go! I tried to focus my gaze on what was happening. Sana was running away. No! Okay, this definitely has to be something when you replay that there has to be another choice that pops up. I refuse to believe there would not be another choice. I watched helplessly as she crumbled onto all fours in her wolf form and sprinted off into the misty woods with a long howl. Shit! There was a full moon tonight? The hunters began to panic and gather their weapons. Stop her before she gets to town. But what about... This little parasite ain't going anywhere. Let the sun fry her. We'll come back for her scraps. My eyes widened. Lucidity began to slowly return to my mind and I willed my strength to return with it. She really just left me. The whole group had cleared out in chase of Sana, leaving me pinned to the grass like a doll. Light began to creep along the edges of the horizon by the time my coven found me. They tore out the stakes and found my arms to reattach. A vial of blood was poured down my throat before I was stolen away. I felt my rapid healing stitch up the wounds left on my body. A nightly rising sun was a reckless feeling. I needed to find her. I dragged Sana's broken body into the shade before the morning light could catch me. Patches of light illuminated the piles of corpses that littered the forest floor. Her clothes were torn to ribbons, the entire front of her body was covered in holes. I stood over her body and wiped the leftover gore of the hunters on my already soiled skirt. Well now, what should I do with you? Sana whistles, and her blood stains the grass. You're not healing. Silver. I ball up my fist. Congrats, you've gotten yourself killed for nothing. Good thing you're still alive, now I can kill you myself. Good thing you're still alive, now I can kill you myself. Oh, nope. No, I'm sorry, y'all, I want good ending, I want happy ending. I'm sorry, I'm not risking this shit. Not the first time. I knelt down and shoved my hand into Sana's chest cavity. I dug my hand in her ribs until I found what I wanted. I plucked out her heart like I was harvesting an apple from a tree. Then a twig snapped. I turned to find a figure swathed in mourning colors. I bit my fangs at her. Collect your ingredients elsewhere, witch! She cocked her head and stood politely with her hands behind her back. Sana's heart beat strongly in my hand. I considered for a moment, then looked at the witch once more. However, now that you're here... I asked her what the price was. She said it was something I could afford, nothing too steep. I placed her heart in the witch's hand, and it burst into flames. I almost snapped her neck, thinking she just killed Sana. But then she laughed as though she expected my reaction. I withdrew the hands that would have wrapped around her throat, then eyed the pile of grey ashes that now sat in her hand with trepidation. To my surprise, the ashes began to rise and reform into the shape of a heart. Then it pulsed back to life. I stared in wonder before I reached out and took the heart back. Sana's reconstructed heart was firm in my hands. The bloodless grey ashes on its surface eventually flaked off, revealing something that gave me a slight startle. Okay, 1 second, y'all. The cat wants to leave my room. It is sorry, baby. Okay, no te abro. Cat has been released. Sana's reconstructed heart was firm in my hands. The bloodless grey ashes on its surface eventually flaked off, revealing something that gave me a slight startle. The heart was now pitch black, alive again, but not the same. Never again would it be. I wonder if you just don't think highly of me anymore, or if you ever did. No matter how much time has passed since then, I clearly remember how panicked I was when you were gone from the river. At best, I thought you'd fish yourself out somehow, and would go on the prowl to tear me into pieces. At worst, someone had found you before I did. I didn't know there were hunters so close, and I was scared as hell. But I still went to you. Maybe I didn't do a very good job at helping you get free, but it was you and me in that cage together. Strange, that doesn't match what I remember at all. I suppose it's bold of you to admit you did a poor job at playing knight in shining armor. I suppose it's bold of you to admit you did a poor job at playing knight in shining armor. Have I not always been the honor roll type? No. Most of the time? Fine then. Part of me kind of wishes you forgot about the part where you were stripped to become ingredients on some witch's shelf. Sana cringes at her own words. Really now? Pray tell, how could I possibly fucking forget that? Sana ducks her head and places a hand on her neck sheepishly. Well, my distraction did well to buy me enough time for the full moon to come out. I was almost slaughtered like a lamb because of you. Sana makes an awkward chuckle. I knew you were a fast healer. If I wasn't, neither of us would be here right now. Interesting explanation. It still hurt like hell. If I wasn't, neither of us would be here right now. I can thank my stars then. My eyes narrowed to slits. You also ran. Sana blew out an exasperated breath. If you're trying to make me laugh, it's not working too well. But if you're trying to piss me off, she turns my glare. It's working quite well. I never ran. I curl my lip. If you didn't, I bet you would have loved to. Is it easier for you to think I wanted to? That made me snap my mouth shut. I look away. If you want to run away, Alicia, I have no problem chasing after you like I've always done. No, you haven't always done that. Have you satisfied your need to dig up old graves now? Do I need to go traveling through time with you to get what I want? It would take forever to go over everything. You'd probably die of old age before we make it to where we are now. I'm happy to hear you you seeing there's so much history to go over. I guess a couple centuries wasn't just nothing. Stalling doesn't change where this ends. You look like shit. I feel like shit. Put me out of my misery already. Come now, Lycia. I've only just woken up after 100 years. Must you beg me for death when I still have my tits out? I throw her a flustered look, refraining myself from looking down at her chest. She lowers herself in the water. Don't look, perv. I wasn't fucking looking. I press my hands against my temples. I'm starting to think I should just kill you again. In the corner of my eyes, I see Sana go still like the water. She gives me an easy smile and retreats a little. Something about it strikes me as odd. Okay, I'll behave. She holds her hands up in surrender. If you kill me again, who knows what century I'll wake up in next. I still haven't had the chance to see what this one is like, and I really want to see what society has become if you get to wear skirts as short as that and show off upside down crosses without being dragged to a pyre. Lycia, I'm curious. If you flip the cross right side up, will it hurt you? Let's see. Wait, no! Without hesitation, I flip over the cross at my neck and press it against my skin. I hear the sear of my flesh, and Sana's face crunches at the smell that suddenly assaults her senses. She rushes forward and slaps my hand from the cross. I should have fucking known better, honestly. Are you really that eager to hurt yourself? I think I've got some pond water in my brain because for a second I forgot there isn't a bone in your body that isn't fucking crazy. I shrug, and she pushes back the hair in her face with an exasperated sigh. Hey, Lycia, what if I'm not bored yet? Not bored yet. She runs her hand over the surface of the water, disturbing the surrounding lily pads. Yeah, don't I get a say when our game ends? We're both active participants in it, after all. I don't see how that's relevant. Do you want to match her, freak? Is that what you want to do? You want to match her, freak? Well, that's because you've always been a selfish bitch. Put a lot of time and effort into trying to kill you. Maybe I don't want to kill you if you're just gonna roll over and take it. I look up at the dark sky and sigh. I do admit, it would get quite creative at times. If I kill you, I'm not sure I'll know what to do with my time anymore. I do not care. Don't you? We would be in each other's presence so often. I bet it was weird for me to not be around. I always imagine you were busy plotting. I'd be surprised at the idea of you having a life outside of me. I'd only be restless from wondering whether you'd jump out from under my bed with a stake at the ready. I'd be surprised at the idea of you having a life outside of me. Oh, that was a broken heart. But I like that choice. I'm gonna keep it. Sana lets out a small chuckle. Has all that not been exciting enough for you? I feel like I've been skipping to all the good parts in a book, while you've been agonizing over every little detail. I look down at her with a frown. They've all been good parts to you. Sana looks taken aback for a moment. She then averts her eyes to look down at the water. No. They haven't all been good parts. I knew it was her the moment she walked past the threshold. The evening sky was bruised with pinks and oranges, and the weather was warm. I wondered if she appreciated not waking up to the cold darkness for once. The sound of wet footsteps on the aisle reached my ears as she entered the parlor. The coat I left her was slung over her arm, and her waistcoat was still unbuttoned. I didn't bother making myself presentable when she noticed me curled up in the shadows. My legs draped over the arms of my chair, I stared into the minuscule contents of my chalice as I swirled it with my wrist. As Anna entered, I heard her almost trip over the sea of empty bottles on the floor. Those are the hottest things in fashion right now, you know. And you won't even wear them properly. Looked at Sana, unimpressed. She tore her eyes away from the floor to scoff. Why bother? I probably won't get to appreciate them for long before they're covered in blood. How long do I get to stay breathing this time? My eyes narrowed to slits as she threw her coat onto the back of the settee, however you fucking say that word, then dropped down to lie on the cushions. You're still covered in pond water, wolf. Give me a break. Last I remember, you were plucking out my eye and kicking me off a bridge. I rolled my eyes. And I spent 3 days searching for where your body washed up after. It wasn't that tall. And then I spent 3 days searching for where your body washed up after. Oh, I'm so grateful, considering the fact that you were the reason it went missing in the first place. Honestly, I'll never know peace because of you. That made me sit up. If you want to live so badly, you can walk out that door anytime now. As if that was easy. You'd probably slap up my ankles if I simply thought about it. Well, I have something in my eye. I flopped back into my chair and ignored her. My hand carried a slight tremor as I brought my chalice up to my face and took in a deep inhale of the blood. My eyes fluttered shut, and I gave the stem a quick squeeze before lowering it again. It's really quiet in here. And also far too bright. Shouldn't you be asleep in your coffin still? I didn't say anything. I don't sleep in a damn coffin. Did you expect a vampire den to be noisy at this time of day? I don't sleep in a damn coffin. Broke her heart. God fucking. Oh, you people are so complicated. I only waited up to make sure you didn't come back wrong. I definitely don't come back the same whenever I wake up in that pond. How about next time you be the one throwing up a handful of possums? They're creepy looking. I thought I was hacking up little sets of ribs. Absurd. Maybe you should try harder to kill me then? My bare feet lowered to the cold floor. I observed the last remnants of daylight as the horizon finally finished swallowing the sun. I made my way to the city and looked down at Sana's reclined form, along with the frown she wore. Was she upset over losing so much? I leaned down and rested in my arms on the back of the city as if I would find my answer just by studying her furrowed brows up close. I've been thinking about something for the last couple of years. Sana's lips tilted with an invited smile, but her eyes were cold. It made me think of a cat that tolerates petting, but thumps its tail in warning. Yes? Why wait so long to air out your thoughts? Sorry, years? Why wait so long to air out your thoughts? I took off to the side for a moment. Years are cheap currency to me. How long I hold on to my thoughts isn't important. Sana, when you said you wanted to kill me, was that nothing more than a jest? Sana's smile was wiped from her face. It's been at least 100 years, and still, you have not succeeded, so I started to wonder, are you really trying? I watched her swallow nervously, then considered the contents of my chalice hypnotically while waiting for her answer. My mind slipped away at the sight of the swirling red liquid. I almost forgot I had even asked something until a hand reached up and curled around my fingers. I startled and lifted my hand to see Sana sitting up and fixed on me with a tense expression. She then pours my goblet of blood onto the floor. My reaction was instantaneous. I dropped onto my knees with a cry and tried to scoop up the blood with my hands. A painful ache unraveled in me as it kept slipping through my fingers. I tried to bring what I could to my lips, but it was not enough. The second the blood touched my tongue, my whole body was spiked with a surge so earth-shaking that my vision started to blur. I was seconds away from lowering my head to lap up the blood when Sana's voice shattered through the haze of my bloodlust. My eyes raised to her as I panted. Lucia. She looked at me like a pitiful creature. She looked at me with disappointment. She looked at me blankly. She looked at me like a pitiful creature. God! Okay, we're not getting a good ending. We're not getting the good ending first try. We're not doing it. We're just not getting the good ending first try. Maybe we can't even get the good ending first try. Let's just try to get the neutral ending. I suppose in that moment I must have truly looked like one. I hunched over the floor tiles and gritted my teeth. My hair fell forward, obscuring my vision. Tell her the truth up front. I hesitate to tell her. I tell her to get out. I tell her the truth up front. Okay. I hesitate to tell her. Listen, we're not getting like 50 broken hearts in a row. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. I ran a hand through my hair and tried to compose myself with shaky hands. My eyes rake over the bottles on the floor. I pick a nearby one up and hold it up to eye level. Empty. Just like the rest. I sighed and hopelessly let the bottle fall back to the floor. My lips pressed back as I kept my eyes low. Gods, I felt like a coward. I swallowed and raised my head high, willing myself to just say the words up front. My mouth opened, and nothing came out. I deflated. Oi, I'm out of here. Panic surged through me as I heard Sana start to leave. I was on my feet in an instant, rushing for her. Sana went wide-eyed when I jolted her back by grabbing her sleeve. The words bubbled out clumsily. I cringed at myself and wished I had told her what happened with more grace. I wish I knew how to. Sana's expression goes vacant. I drop her sleeve and take a step back. Then she's gone. I felt her return later that night. She stood outside for so long, even when it started to rain. Before going out to meet her, I braced myself. Her whole body was drenched from the icy rain. And why she looked so good while drenched with water, huh? I met her in the middle of the yard. She didn't look up once to acknowledge my presence. We stood there for ages. At some point, my mind wandered off, thinking about every close call Sana's given me. There were so many that I wondered how she hadn't yet killed me after all those years. Her voice finally broke through my thoughts. It was so quiet that I almost missed it. My family. Been a lot of hunters in the area for a while now, say nothing. Oh, this is hard. Say nothing? Sana lifted her head. I couldn't tell if it was just rain or tears dripping down her face. I felt pinned to my spot like I was suddenly made into a stone statue, unable to do anything but stand still. I could have... We're not gonna say this. No, I think this just would make it worse. We're just gonna stay quiet for now. Sana swallowed a sob and ran rough hands over her face. I stood awkwardly, my arms weights at my sides. My whole family is gone. She looked at me fiercely. Her eyes were luminous. I looked up as red flooded the yard. The clouds above parted, revealing an angry moon. A cold sweat ran down the back of my neck. If it weren't for this stupid game, I could have at least seen them one more time. My eyes flickered to Sana's extending claws and canines. I took a deep breath. Then you should have killed me when you had the chance. The moonlight reflected in Sana's tears. She let out a small laugh and looked at me, completely stupefied. Before she hunched over and started breathing raggedly. Lucia, you idiot. Oh, we've changed POV. Oh, we've changed POV. Oh, we've changed POV. We've changed. Oh, okay. Okay. Water. I couldn't say this game with Lucia was very fun. Despite that, however, I couldn't let it end. Because my first win would be my only win, and I never really had much interest in the prize at the end. One day, I'd been running through a patrol of the town, making sure our local bloodsuckers were kept in line. The next, I was waking up in an algae-infested pond, cold and naked as the day I was born. Weeks had passed by in a flash. Those few weeks were all enough for nothing to ever be the same again. At some point, I stopped caring about dying. Life to me became what time was to Alicia. Disposable. Dying was just a round loss to me. It always led to more chances. Stopped paying attention to what I left behind was my last corpse. The counterfeit immortality made me forget that time wasn't waiting for me in the moments I sat suspended in the purgatory created by Alicia, waiting to come back to life. Alicia never hesitated to kill me when I gave her the chance. Why would she? We made an unspoken pact that very first night. She was my end, and I was hers. Death participated every interaction we shared. Whenever I saw Alicia's face, I knew it would be lingering in the wings, but I always got too distracted to notice it. I was always too busy looking for Alicia, savoring everything about her, from her glossy hair to the fangs that always poked at her bottom lip. She always reminded me of the stillness on the surface of a pond and made me want to disturb it. I could never look away once she started hissing and clawing at me. That was always my downfall. I kept forgetting I was supposed to be killing her, until she killed me. To keep her in my life, I was always paying the price. Sana tackled me to the ground. The back of my head slammed against the hard earth. It was a sight to see a world transform, especially up so close. I could see Sana's skull shift and distort, her skin stretching to accommodate the changes. Her teeth expanded and bulged past her lips as they sharpened into deadly points. I wonder if this was the moment Sana would finally kill me. If I had a heartbeat, I think it would have exploded. If I had a heartbeat, I think it would have exploded. As a vampire, I'm not used to feeling so small and fragile. My mind went completely blank. The next thing I knew, I was swinging my arm in a mean right hook right into Sana's jaw. My punch threw her to the side. She let out a long howl as fur started to cover the expanse of her skin. I led them to my feet and... Tagged her, ran back to the estate, ran to the trees. Ran to the trees? The rain-slicked grass gave way to tangles of roots and fallen leaves as I raced through the trees with Sana hot on my heels. Once I broke through them, I saw the old oak tree and headed straight for it. The tree stood like a skeletal monument against the night sky. It was as old as I was, and its canopy of brittle leaves did little to shelter me from the freezing rain. The moon casted a red light over the field, giving the misty fog an eerie glow. I ran until I stumbled and slammed into the rough bark of the oak tree. The rain had soaked in me to the bone, making my hair and clothes cling to me like a second skin. When I turned around, Sana was right behind me, breathing heavily. Her shoulders rose and fell powerfully. I pressed my back against the tree until every counter left indentations in my skin. She crawled right up to me and struck at the tree with her hands, caging my head between them. My hands flexed, my whole body tensed. I was getting prepared to retaliate. Sana's jaw spread wide, revealing the rows of sharp teeth within. I went still as I felt them graze my jugular, along where a pulse should be, but isn't. My eyes squished shut and my breath hitched. Part of me imagined fighting back in that moment, and part of me wanted to see if Sana would finally kill me. Oh god. Oh god. I don't know. And then she tears me apart and she rips my heart out. Oh, I don't think either of these choices would be. Then she rips my heart out. Ah, it's bad choice. Blood gurgled up my throat and burst past my lips. A large clawed hand found the small of my back as I slumped against a tree. Through teary eyes, I watched Sana's canine features graze over my bloody heart in her hand. She twisted her wrist so that she could study it from every angle. Maybe she wanted to admire like I sometimes did with hers, except unlike hers. My heart is dead. When she was finished with examination, she shoved my heart back in my chest and stepped back. I crumbled into the ground and choked on my blood. I looked up at her with furrowed brows. Fury started to build up inside me. Are you fucking kidding me? I saw Sana's form begin to retreat as the corners of my vision darkened. Was my heart so disappointing that she had to give it back to me? It was far too sunny on the day of her funeral. I leaned against a tree and chewed thoughtfully on an apple as I beheld a humble crowd of mourners around a plain gravestone. They barely even knew her. Each person in attendance was simply a passerby, granting the courtesy of witnessing someone that died too young descend 6 feet into the earth. My apple crunched between my teeth as I watched them fill her grave with dirt before they nailed a cage over it. When the mourners started leaning in close to speak to each other in whispers, my ears perked up. They say she was a vampire. I took another bite of my apple and observed the way their eyes darted to the cage in judgment and speculation. Really, it was only there to prevent grave robbers, and seeing it brought me a small sense of comfort. There were no riches to steal in this grave, but there was a secret. If anyone that knew better were to dig up the body in that grave, they would know it was Alicia in there. I took one last bite of my apple before tossing it behind me as I headed off. It had been years since I last graced this town with my presence. After I left all those years ago, I hunted the hunters who wiped out my pack, and I kept killing because I didn't know what else I could be doing. Roads traveled with the wind about a funeral for a secluded mistress that lived in the old manor at the top of the hill. Our rider was a message that traveled the way out there, but when they arrived, the door was left ajar, leaving him to find the mangled corpse of a young, dark-haired woman. Of course, the death was officially blamed on a wild animal, but that didn't stop the rumors passed between mates surmising much more supernatural causes. The people at the funeral only showed up because it upset them to know she had been left all alone for so long. What they didn't know was that the dark-haired woman that had been found was actually a werewolf. Creatures of the night had a way of keeping tabs on each other, especially now that our numbers were being threatened. I barely had the time to ask around before another wolf pulled me aside and told me in a hushed tone about the death of a werewolf that had recently come to town. She'd been one of the girls from the local brothel. By now, her mistress must have noticed she'd gone missing and was either putting an ad in the paper or sending out her procuress to hunt for a replacement. They seldom spent any more time and resources on the girls beyond that, to my disdain. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that people didn't put too much question into the circumstances of the deaths, especially since most locals didn't even know what Licia looked like. How she ended up in Licia's vampire den, however, I hadn't the faintest of ideas. Maybe they were like me, drawn to others of the supernatural kind. We naturally didn't like each other, but at least we didn't have to pretend to be something we were not around one another. I returned later that night so I could visit the grave on my own. She was there. Licia leaned against her own gravestone. Her back was hunched over and facing me. As I started closer, I could see the tremor in her shoulders. With a pang in my heart, I instinctively started to reach for her. She released a ghastly sneeze that vaulted her upper body forward, which gave me a terrified jolt. Okay. Gods, that feels awful! How do people do this? She sniffed and huffed in what sounded like frustration. My hand hung limply in the space between us, and I stared at Licia incredulously. Licia? She finally noticed me. I watched as she jumped and twisted her head to face me. Her eyes were wide, bloodshot. I looked over her shoulder and saw the fine powder on the back of her hand. My jaw fell open. Is that... Are you doing snuff? Licia winced and drew back from me with a stumble. She wiped up the snuff from her hand and looked me up and down like she was seeing a ghost. Sana? Her features quickly turned stony. What are you doing here? I put my hands on my hips. Me? What are you doing here? Am I not allowed to visit my own grave? Don't bother bullshitting me, Alicia. We both know the person buried here was just another one of your victims. Why haven't you disappeared to some part of the world with your coven? Alicia made a slight flinch. I felt a prick of confusion. I watched her frown and direct her gaze elsewhere. She sighs and mutters something. Maybe I got attached to this one. I felt like a sheet of ice had fallen over me. My right foot fell back. Something dark crossed over my features. I really shouldn't have felt so betrayed. I was the one who left. You people are so fucking complicated. God forbid you talk like a normal person. You seem to have replaced your placing pretty quickly. Alicia clenches her jaws before returning my cold stare. Well, the first one ran away. How else was I supposed to pass the time? Maybe I happen to like this one much more. It's just a shame she was so fragile. I've known Alicia for a long time. It was easy to tell when she lied just for the sake of trying to rile me up. I wasn't quite in the mood to play along, though. My frown deepened as I observed the way Alicia fidgeted with her hands. My anger started to falter. Alicia. She launched for me, and I was quick to step out of the way. Her movements were reckless and far too easy to dodge. A quick strike on the base of her skull was all it took to subdue her. She crumbled like a rag doll into my arms, and I crushed her against my chest. I pressed my face into her neck and savored the weight of her head on my shoulder. I took a deep breath. I keep missing so much, even when I'm still alive. Can you people just talk? I brought Alicia back to the estate. I had half a thought that it would be taken over by a new family, but it remained vacant and hollow. Doors sat open, creaking in the wind. Dust caked every surface. The only living presence to note were the spiders that had settled in every corner. Everyone must have thought this place was haunted or cursed. I found myself grateful for that. I placed Alicia down on her bed and went off in search of blood. Empty bottles and flasks were left all over the house. I opened every cupboard and every drawer. I searched every rack in the cellar, and still nothing. With a heavy sigh, I returned to where I had left Alicia. But her bed was empty. I raced through the streets in the dead of night, searching frantically. My eyes darted out every street, my ears listening attentively for screaming. I soon found her fighting off another vampire for a human woman who was cowering in the shadows. Ooh! Ooh! Ooh, hello, ma'am! Hello, ma'am! Hello! Alicia threw the other vampire into the side of a building, stunning them before latching onto the human. I approached her slowly and heard the human whimper and sob as Alicia drank her with inhibitions completely abandoned. Behind her, the other vampires shook off their dizzy spell and loaded into a ready stance with Alicia's back clear in their sights. I quickly intercepted his pass and smashed his head against the ground. It wasn't long before I torn him limb from limb. The last touch, I procured a wooden stake from my boot and pierced it through his heart. It was a souvenir from one of the hunters I'd killed. In such a weakened state, that was all it took to kill him. When a vampire dies, they crumble, like an inferno that had been ignited from within them. He burned from the pile inside out until his body flaked and collapsed into a pile of ash and bone. My head turned towards Alicia. I rushed forward and ripped her back from the human woman. She immediately let out a rabid snarl and thrashed at me. The human blinked and clutched her bleeding neck. She looked up at me hastily. I snapped, "Go!" She wobbled off the ground and gauntly headed off. Turned to Alicia, who was breathing raggedly. Hunger didn't look pleasant on her. Her pupils and scleras had melted into a bottomless black. Dark veins were spreading over her sickly cheeks from her eyes. Blood dripped down her chin, and I could see it stain her teeth red when she spoke. "Sana, why do I always find you out at this time of night? Isn't it past your bedtime?" I observed her wordlessly, which only incited her irritation further. She bared her fangs at me. My eyes glanced behind me, making sure the human woman was completely gone before they returned to Alicia. The side of Alicia's mouth clamped on her neck, and the serenity of her face made my insides burn with jealousy. I can't with this fucking girl. That's right, she's so fucking annoying. Oh my god. Alicia, I didn't know whores were your favorite flavor. Her face turns flustered for a moment before she narrows her eyes to slits and clenches her teeth together. This tastes richer than wine ever did. This time, I let her come at me. Lycia rips through me like paper and crunches down on my bones like crystal candy. Would I bring Lycia any satisfaction this way? Oh my fucking god, I cannot with this woman. If I could never quench her thirst, could I at least give her what she wants, even more than blood? Could I make her feel alive? Oh my god! You're so annoying! What is your problem? What is your problem? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Oh my god! I sat on top of Sana's gory corpse, cradling her heart with a vacant stare. The sun was about to rise. I should have been leaving. But instead, I swept my thumb over Sana's cold, blood-splattered cheek. I just wanted to see it for a little bit longer. Sana. I did leave, but then I got homesick. I kept getting worried you were dead on the side of a road somewhere. Kept getting worried you were dead on the side of a road somewhere. That's a broken heart! I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't. No, 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 no. No, okay. We don't make homes, we live in houses. I got too attached to this place to leave. Turned my eyes away from Sana to look at the pile of vampire ashes that swirled in the wind. You could have killed me anytime you wanted, Sana. I swept my gaze back at her and held her face. I bent down until my nose brushed against her. Hello? Did I not push you hard enough to want to? Well, I think it affects the affection meter because, like, she's retelling the story, basically. Right? So it's like, those choices also, like, are just, like, what she's telling to Sana right now. So I bet, so that's probably how it affects those kind of things. I wonder if, like, I think this is gonna, I don't know if this is gonna, I think this is gonna change, like, towards the end. Watch, I get, like, the worst ending, and it's just, like, this thing's, like, over here. It's just all over the way over there. Why didn't you run back inside your helm? You probably would have been safer instead of running to the trees. I shrug and look away. May wanted you to chase me. I had a crazed werewolf in front of me. I wasn't thinking. Maybe I wanted you to chase me. Ever thought about that? Hmm? Judging by the way she was looking at me, I think Sana would have been wagging her tail if she had it out. Can she have a tail? At will? Oh my god. Wait, can she actually have a tail at will? Can she just, like, be wagging her fucking tail at will? Nowhere would have been safe enough in the end. I think you just didn't want me to run off and terrorize someone else. By all means, maybe I should have sicked you on the council, like you would have run off to someone else. Like you would have ran off to someone else. You're my loyal dog, aren't you? Sana scowls where her cheeks burn red. Not that making you blush, girl. Girl, stand up. Girl, stand up. You did a great job following me all the way to the oak tree. You know I chased you so I could kill you, right? And I want to see you try, because your attempts left me a little disappointed. I'll admit, considering the red moon and all, that bits and pieces of my memory have gotten a bit lost after I shifted. Remind me again what happened? Nothing. Nothing happened. Wait, I think some parts are returning to me. Oh yes, you seem to have mixed up this memory. I let out an infuriated hiss. But it's alright, let me give you a refresher. It's not needed. Sana leaned forward and started making gestures with her hands as she spoke. Hello? I don't think I can read that comment out on YouTube. Thank you for the comment. I don't think I can read it out. Thank you. Thank you for the comment. Good job. 10/10. Amazing. Phenomenal. Really, really, really good. Really good addition. Very good. Oh my god. See, I typically don't put comments on VNs, so like when I edit them down, I don't have to worry about like the comments appearing and stuff. But in this regard, I think this one was a good one because holy shit. I mean, I don't. Maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Oh my god. Fucking hell. Sana leaned forward and started making gestures with her hands as she spoke. I was just about to rip your fucking head off, but then I remembered you were fond of carrying some pretty little knives. Daggers? Whatever. So I changed my mind and decided to have a little fun. I pinned you to the tree, and I remember when I went to get the third one, you... Fuck, enough! I don't want to bloody hear anymore. Sana's face goes stone cold as she straightens. My bad. Was I upsetting you? I show her my teeth. Fuck off, Sana. Well, I would, but you're in the way. If I didn't want to be killed more than I wanted to kill, I would shove her head underwater. You know, my thoughts were overflowing with you when I left. What a coincidence. Mine were as well, but not in the kind way. Sana gives me a small nod and stares blankly at the water. She's not in the way, she is the way. Oh my god. You're really starting to annoy me with all this meandering. Will you be more forthcoming in your next life if I kill you again right now? Sana looks down, despondently. It makes my spine grow stiff. I almost feel taken aback by her response. It should be a good thing. I want her to stop fighting me. So why do I dislike it when she stops fighting me? Oh my god, you need help, girl! Girl, oh my god. Flirt normally. Flirt like a normal person. Oh my god. She's eerily quiet, but finally speaks again. Her mouth spreads in a smile, but its edges are dull. The dullness extends to her eyes, making me feel like my stagnant heart has somehow hardened and fractured in my chest. I can feel every jagged edge stab into my lungs with every breath I take. Come on now, just stay a little longer, and I'll give you what you want. A moment of silence passes between us. Are you ready to kill me yet? Anna bites her lip and tilts her head at me curiously. Oi, if you were a human, what would you do? Why are you asking me so suddenly? I mean, so much would be different, wouldn't it? We wouldn't have to hide most of our lives. We'd have completely different problems, and we'd probably be far more careful with our mortality. Thank you for this great comment. Hey, Alicia Honey is like the 2000s at this point, right? Therapy is normalized at this point. You should check that out. Yeah, agreed. I think therapy would do great. However, I think if she had therapy, this game would never exist. I look down at my lap and ruminate over her question. I'd get drunk. Then blinks, then breaks out into a laugh. Something so mundane. Isn't blood intoxicating enough for you? Can't wait for the sequel, My Bed, Your Grave, Our Therapy. Oh my god. I can't believe you would just leak that like that. I can't believe you would leak the sequel title like that. Wow. How could you? I scowl. Not the same thing. Won't you feel the kind of inebriation that makes me warm and stupidly brave? I softly run my hand over the grass, under my legs. I would get pissed drunk until I'm throwing up in the bushes of a perfectly manicured garden. Maybe meet the love of my life at my worst. You know, that sounds kind of familiar. Hello? Oop, wrong. Okay. Sorry, I got so startled I accidentally clicked the wrong button. I was like, what? What? Hello? Does it? God fucking damn it! Oh, I cannot fucking do this shit anymore. Ooh. I think if I got to live as a human, I'd just embrace all the flaws that come with it. Maybe in some ways, they're better than the ones I get as a vampire. I lift my gaze to meet Sana's. Her eyes are burning into mine. What about you? Sana blinks at me in surprise. I look away, feeling a little shameful. I go to couples therapy, and at some point Lucy shows up with just Sana's heart, and the therapist just sighs like, "Come on, we talked about this." Guys, are you just writing fan fiction in the comments now? Are we just typing up fan fiction for this game in the comments? Is that what we're doing now? Sana blinks at me in surprise. I look away, feeling a little shameful. What? Am I not allowed to ask you things back? Sana gives me a calm smile. I didn't even say anything. I could read your thoughts on your face. Well, I'll save you the effort. Sana waits closer to me with a serious expression. If I were just a regular old human, I'd frequent parties and stumble upon dark-haired women who were overindulging themselves until they'd end up getting sick in the bushes. And Sana places her hands on the edge of the pond, framing my body. She leans up to me until I can see deeply into her bright eyes. The corner of her mouth quirks into a smirk. Then I'd call her an idiot. Sana laughs when I clench my teeth at her. I take a swipe at her with my nails, and she pushes off the shore and retreats back. I think I'd get a thrill, the kind that human mortals get when they gamble with their life to skirt around danger and somehow come away with their heads still attached. She clasps her hands together behind her back and leans her head to the side. Her hair falls limply, still slightly wet from the water. I watch water drip and trail down her torso from the heavy tips of every damp clump. Do you think we would be different if we were just mortals? My eyes light up from her chest to her face. She looks away distantly. Girl, why were your eyes there to begin with? My gaze finds my balled up hands. I don't know. If we were only human, maybe we would have never stumbled upon each other. Sana looks thoughtful for a moment. Her mouth moves, forming words that aren't coherent enough to make sounds. I try to read the broken lines on her lips. Would have found you. Ooh. It was hard being a monster sometimes. Oh, my back hurts. And I'm hungry. Sorry. We could only coast on revelry for so long before our arrogance was shattered like porcelain. God must have loved to remind us that our blessings were not for free, or maybe he was simply doing his duty. I could spend a whole afternoon quenching my thirst, chittering with my sisters about hats or dancing until I was dizzy and falling over, but the second he brushed his eyes over us and reminded us that we were not meant to be seen. He saw the devouring light seared our flesh, imprisoned us in the shadows, and when he wasn't seated at his blinding throne, our hunger forced us into a grovel. Maybe I had tried to ascend too high. He noticed me in the clouds and swatted me back down to earth. Maybe the butterflies in my stomach disgusted him so much he had to set them on fire himself. Or maybe I'm just trying to blame him for the matches in my hands. I released a shaky breath as I dragged myself through the tall, brittle glass, every dry blade scratched against my cheeks. I just need to get to the pond. Sana's black heart was tucked against my chest, and a handful of tiny seeds was clutched in my fist. When I reached the edge, I inserted the seeds in the heart and let it slip quietly into the water. I didn't remember what kind of seeds they were. They were all I could find. When it came to regrowing Sana's body, this time it needed to bloom coincided with the seed's typical germination period. Oh, okay, I can read. When it came to regrowing Sana's body, the time it needed to bloom coincided with the seed's typical germination period. Some flower seeds could take 4 to 7 days, and some it could take weeks. The heart disappeared into the murky depths. I wished on every star it wouldn't take long for her to wake up. The tangles of weeds around the pond cushioned my head as I laid on the edges and curled into myself. Wake up quickly. The water was freezing when I woke up. I burst out of the water with a screech and immediately wrapped my arms around my shivering frame. My teeth chattered and the tips of my fingers were blushed a pale shade of blue. Then I felt them slithering up my throat. I coughed up tiny blue flowers into the water. My eyes stung with tears as I wiped my mouth and racked my brain over the name of these ones. Is this in a way a little bit of a reference to Hanahaki trees? Do you guys think it's in a way kind of referencing that? It just clicked to me right now. My brain, it's sinking. It's the gears are turning. Get me nuts? A breeze shook me to my bones. I rubbed my hands over my arms, hoping the friction would give me some warmth. Good God, I think my nipples are about to fall off. Either that or just give her a bouquet, you freak. Yeah, God forbid. God forbid you give your totally not girlfriend a bouquet like a normal person. Like, that is so last century. What's in season now is to put the seeds into your lover's heart and then wait for them to grow in them when she revives, and then her just like take them out. Like, that is what's in now, okay? That is the fashion of the times right now, okay? Just, you guys have to get with the time. You have to get with the times, okay? My hands grappled for the edge of the pond so I could pull myself out of it until the state of the plants gave me pause. The garden around the pond was always so full of life and flourishing. I don't think I had ever seen it so withered and decayed, no matter the season. The sight is an off-putting thing to rise from the dead to. I tolerated the ice-cold water for just a moment longer to scrutinize it before I leaped out of the pond. It felt like my dripping wet body was being cut 1,000 times from the cold air. My feet moved from the estate, like a force had instructed them to do so before I could myself. It came so naturally to me at this point, but it was also the closest place I could steal clothes from, maybe in a bath. God, I knew how bad I could use that at that moment. It's none of my days when I almost tripped over something in the grass. My eyes jumped down to a bundle of blankets. I cocked my head curiously. What on earth are these doing out here? I reached an arm down to lift one of the blankets. The bundle shifted. I dropped down to my knees in an instant and started to push back the layers of blankets. My breath hitched when I got to the body hidden underneath them. I ran a gentle thumb over Alicia's scratchy red cheeks. My heart felt like it was convulsing in my chest. What in the hell's? Alicia? Alicia! I gave her face a firm tap to wake her up, but she did not stir in the slightest. My eyes flickered over her face in distress. I didn't realize the sun had started rising until the light poured through the parting clouds. The moment the sun touched her face, Alicia started to scream. For a second, I was horrified by the sight of her face blistering and smoking, and the sound. Fuck! I rushed to cover her skin with the blankets and shoveled her into my arms. My feet pounded on the hard ground as I desperately tried to outrun the sun's rays. I almost tripped over the threshold on the way in. A sigh of relief left my lips when we reached the sheltering moss of the shadows. I debated carrying Alicia up to her bed, but the idea of leaving her made me uneasy. I strained out a sigh and tightened my grip around her before I headed down to the cellar, praying there was blood stored this time. There was. Lots of it this time. But all of it was already congealed. I grieved over every bottle of solidified blood I found. God, maybe this is just like those fucking camping romance movies. Now we understand. Now we understand the feeling. Was it still edible to vampires like this? Or would it be like drinking sour milk? I pressed my lips together hard and gave up my search with a frustrated exhale. I adjusted my grip up on Alicia and started heading for the steps. Maybe it's like yogurt. Maybe you just kind of have to like shake it, you know? Like, it's still fine. It has to expire, but like you just have to like shake it so like it all gets back together, you know? Like, maybe you just have to shake it. It's like a yogurt. But then something out of place caught my eye. Couldn't help the brief bark of laughter I let out at the sight of it. A coffin! I changed course and headed over to it. Did her sleeping habits change while I was gone? My mind crept up in amusement until I finally got a proper look at it. All my thoughts came to a screeching halt when I saw the giant cross on the cracked lid of the stone tomb. Suddenly, I was lightheaded. I stumbled back before looking down at the woman in my arms. She remained unconscious, still wrapped up in blankets in my arms. Exactly. Exactly. This is the Hallmark movies for us. I dropped the blankets until she was left in just her nightgown. A wry smile found its way onto my lips as I saw the dark blood that stained it. Flakes of dry blood coated her mouth and chin. Her skin was thin and burned raw. Her hair that was usually a dark sheet of soft waves was now messy and brittle. A lump formed in my throat, causing my voice to crack when I spoke out loud. What did I miss this time, Licia? I can't believe Girly is just passed out during this time when she's being held by a hot werewolf naked lady. My feet felt. Oh my god, can I speak? My feet felt heavy as I departed from the cellar. I patted the dust of Licia's bedsheets and set her down on them. I dropped down to a knee next to her and examined the state of her skin. It was healing, but far too slowly. Got up silently and grabbed some clothes that were thrown on the back of a partition. Licia was always fascinated by fashion trends and found enjoyment in keeping sets she thought would suit me. There's this thing called marriage. There's this one thing. It's called marriage. It's called being in a relationship. It's called loving each other like normal people. You can do that. You know, you can do that. That's something you can do. That is something you can do. Oh my god, you're gonna drive me insane. You're gonna drive me insane. You're gonna drive me insane. Actually, oh my god. The shirt and trousers I'd picked up had a couple holes from hungry rats, but would make do. I tried not to linger on all the small signs that suggested it had been a very long time since I was last awake. The evidence kept piling up until I started to feel it on my shoulders like an incessant ghost. I headed for the door with one last glance back at Licia's bed. You better still be here when I get back. I'll chase you again. I didn't bother wiping the blood off my hands before I tipped the flask into her parted mouth. Licia spasmed back to life and caught my wrist in a bone-crushing grip. She tipped the flask further, her throat bobbing with every gulp. She made a soft whimper as I held her head with my hand on the base of her skull. When the flask was drained, she grabbed my hand. I went stiff as a board as she swept her tongue over the blood still staining it. My heart thumped erratically in my chest. I pulled my hand away. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm gonna lose. This is my 13th reason, I swear to god. I'm gonna lose it. My heart thumped erratically in my chest. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it fucking did, girl. I'm sure it fucking did. Licia made a slight whine as I pushed her shoulders back down to the bed. I covered her eyes with my palm, then pressed my lips to the back of my head. I can't. Worst part, guys, I think we're gonna have to continue this tomorrow because, like, I have, like, maybe 15 to 20 minutes before I have to end stream. And so we'll see how we end. We'll see how we go. We'll see how this goes because I'm fucking losing my mind. I'm losing my fucking mind right now. I'm losing my mind. Yep. Okay. Cool. Covered her eyes with my palm, then pressed my lips to the back of my hand. Rest. I'll bring you more. Licia let out an exhale, then slipped back to sleep. I roamed around the estate and yelped at scurrying rats. The place felt much more desolate than the last time I set foot in here. Windows were broken and the halls echoed with the ghostly howls of the wind. I lit a fire in the hearth, gave myself a quick scrub to clean up the blood from my hands, then changed into clean clothes. While Alicia rested, I snooped around her room, something I never really got to do since I was usually busy getting into bloody tussles with her in here. You what? You... Sorry, Sorry, what was that? What was that? I'm sorry, you were... I ruffled through her wardrobe and tried to match the dresses to the years they were trending. The wardrobe was filled to the brim and the piles of boxes on the floor suggested even more. I'm sorry, yeah, let's play this funny little game. Yeah, it will be fun. It will be so fun. We'll be so normal about it. We're gonna be so normal about it, guys. I wonder if she'd like to commission new dresses every era so they could become souvenirs of the life she's lived. Small piece of every era, just for herself. After I stumbled onto Lycia's drawer of undergarments, I decided it was time to move on, but not before a quick incredulous skim through all the different types of undergarments from stays to bumbrolls that she's accumulated over years. Why are you looking at... Sana. Sana, sweetie, baby girl. Sweetie, cariño, amor mío de mi vida, de mi corazón. ¿Qué coño estás haciendo? Está mal, está mal. She's... Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Girl, chica, oye, escúchame. ¿Cómo? What? Huh? Lucy always looked well dressed, but I wondered if she just needed to start dressing while the sun was still out, just so she could be ready for her vampire balls at night. My mouth curved into a small smile. You are moving way too fast past that. Girl. I closed the drawer with a soft click and tucked away an idea in the back of my mind. I moved onto a small stack of dusty books sitting on a side table. They were mostly accounts of other people's travels. Licia didn't strike me as much of a reader. What I was most curious about was a small desk shoved into the corner of the room. Licia's lived a long time. I built up an interest in learning what she always does to pass the time. Surely, it couldn't just be indulging in blood and banquets. Loose sheets were thrown all over the floor, and the top of the desk was a mess of... me. I picked up one of the pages. It was a sketch of myself playing in the river down the hill. It was the day I accidentally and sort of intentionally set some of Lisa's hair on fire, leading to her chasing me all the way there. God, you cannot flirt like a normal person. To avoid getting myself shredded into ribbons by her, I jumped in the water. I laughed at how pissed she looked on the shore, and teased her by splashing water at her. Again, 10 years of life watching her dive away to avoid getting any on her. The sky was bright with stars that night, and I ended up forgetting why I'd thrown myself in the water in the first place. Licia reminded me the second I stepped back onto shore. I ruffled through the other pages, which were filled with even more mundane sketches. A melancholy feeling came over me as I looked through them. I turned my eyes to Licia and started searching for some parchment and charcoal. Are you gonna draw her sleeping? Just to join her the pile? You're gonna do that? Is that what you're gonna do? You're gonna draw her? You're gonna draw her? I'm losing. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have a fucking breakdown. I'm gonna break down. I'm gonna have a breakdown over this. Hello? I jumped awake when Sana yelled in my ear. Licia! My hands flung up and made contact with her face. She flew back, clutching her eye. Oh, piss! The fuck was that for, Sana? That's why I should be bloody asking. You're the one who woke me up by scaring the wits out of me. Trust me, I'm deeply repentant. If I'd known you were gonna retaliate like a wild animal, I would have at least kept a distance as I did it. I'm sorry, if my speaking starts to fucking... I'm normal, we're fine, we're normal. You could have woken me up like a normal person. Like a normal person, look who's talking, bro. Shut the fuck up. Sana gave me a simple smile and plopped down on the edge of my bed. I sat up and pressed a hand to my throat. I could still feel the gnawing edges of thirst, but it wasn't as demanding as I expected it to be. A flask appeared in front of me. My eyes lit up to Sana. You're still thirsty, right? The question floated on my tongue as I searched her neutral expressions, but I wordlessly took the flask and drained it. Thirst satiated, I felt better than I had in a very, very long time. Sana picked out a loose thread in her blouse. 50 years. My blood went cold. I went into town and asked around. There isn't a soul here I recognize anymore. I clutched the fabric of my gown. They asked me if I was new in town or just passing by. My body went tense. Have I met Sana hate me again? I closed my eyes and swallowed sickly, then braced myself for her anger. But it never came. My eyelids fluttered open in confusion. Sana didn't look devastated like I thought she would. She almost looked peaceful. Were you trapped in there this whole time? She asked so gently, I felt caught off guard. I felt the pressure in my ribs and fidgeted with my bedsheets. My lips pressed together so hard, I felt one of my fangs pierce my lip. I didn't want to answer her. My face seemed to reflect my thoughts enough that she understood that. Then it gave me a bittersweet look and sighed. Okay then. Why didn't your coven come look for you then? Surely it must have been strange to them that you'd suddenly cut off from them. I slumped back against my headboard. They're busy hoping cities abroad. Why didn't you go with them? I lost contact with them. And wherever they ran off probably didn't have a garden the size of this one. Weren't you the one who suggested I take up a hobby? Sana hummed half-heartedly. Unfortunate that all your hard work died while you were stuck in a box. I shrugged and sank further down. It's not the end of the world. I can regrow it as many times as I want. Sana gives me a weighted look. Won't you get tired of it one day? I lifted my chin. When I've already invested so much time in it. They're not talking about the garden here. They're not talking about the fucking garden. You people are not talking about the garden. Even if someone else moves into this place one day, I glanced at Sana through my lashes. It will still be mine. You people are not talking about the fucking garden. Be for real right now. You are not talking about the garden right now. I finally rose from the bed and headed off to base, cautiously shutting the curtains along the way. Help me get ready. Sana stood up and trailed after her. She tilted her head at me. Are we going out? No. I just want to get ready for the day. Oh, okay. I think this was meant to be Lycia who said that. Drew up the back of her neck. Okay then. I stepped behind the screen and undid the strings at my neckline until my nightgown was slipping down my body. Not the ears! The ears? Oh my god, not the ears! Oh my god! Sana squawked behind me. I looked over my shoulder to see her eyes bulging at the side of my bare body. Something perked up on top of her head. Did she have wolf ears? My eyes brushed over them briefly, then I grabbed a coarse sponge and soaked it in freezing water. I walked over to her, grabbed her wrist and placed the sponge in her palm. I watched her give it a subtle squeeze, and eyed the lengths of her nails. They looked a little longer than they were moments ago. Make yourself useful and scrub off the 50 years of crypt dust off me. Her expression fell flat. With astonishment, I noted that her ears and her head also flattened. That sounds so appealing. Whatever you want, Highness. Okay, we're gonna have to start wrapping this up. I have to college soon. Then I scrubbed my body like it was a delicate crystal glass. I sighed and felt like I was just as covered in grime as when she started. You can scrub a little harder. I'm not gonna shatter. Then I paused and squeezed the sponge in her hand. She stared at my skin anxiously. I just didn't want to hurt you. I side-eyed her. It's not easy to hurt me. Shouldn't you know that by now? I watched her wolf ears on her head droop. I don't feel confident in what I know about you anymore. The corners of my mouth stuck down at that. I looked away and raised my chin. Just hurry up. I dressed in a light chemise and sat in front of my vanity. I handed my brush to Sana and got to work immediately. I stared at her reflection and studied the way she chewed on her cheek as she concentrated on detangling my hair. I always enjoyed these parts about the in-betweens, the moments where we could imitate mundanity. The clothes, the makeup, the parties, I felt like I was putting on a costume every time to disguise what we truly were. But when doing something simple like this, I didn't feel like I was performing as much. Can the in-betweens ever count as real? Or are we just playing parts, pretending to be humans? When we cave in our monstrous desires, is that our truest form? The in-betweens were like temporary reprieves. I forgot about my lust for blood, and Sana didn't have to walk lightly around her emotions. We are constantly paying a price to have these moments, and sometimes I wonder if they were worth fighting so hard for. But then I'd see her face. When my hair was finally clean and free of knots, I dug through my wardrobe and frowned at all the options. Everything is probably painfully outdated by now. Then that means it doesn't matter which one you pick, right? Glanced at Sana, who was tugging at a random dress. Stepped closer and pulled it out. The style of the dress was slightly unfamiliar. I tried to remember when I might have obtained it, but I realized I couldn't figure it out because I had never seen it before in my life. Did she buy her a fucking dress? Where on earth did this come from? Sana rubbed her nose indifferently and glanced at the dress in my hands. I had some time while you were out, so I pilfered a couple of things. You just pilfered an entire ball gown? She looked away and shrugged. I must truly be a terrible influence for reducing you to such a petty little thief. It was front window material, so I imagined it's a top-trending style during this time. My stomach did a little flip at that. I couldn't help running my eyes over the dress with a new giddiness. I made long strides over to my undergarment drawer and started pulling out all the things I needed. I started with the corset, then added the petticoat. Meanwhile, Sana boredly thumbed through my other dresses. As I tied the camisole over my corset, she pulled out an old dress and gawked at the buttons that lined the back of it. How on earth are you supposed to put this on by yourself? I scoffed. You don't, obviously. She snapped her mouth shut before pointing at the inflated sleeves of my dress with her chin. Those look ridiculous. I think they might be bigger than my head. I doubt anyone will spare them any attention once they see this neckline, though. I don't know if anything can distract me from those balloons on your arms. Really now? With a handful of layers completed, I turned towards Sana and smoothed down my skirt. Still thinking about the sleeves? Y'all! We just started! Sana's gaze unsubtly dropped to my chest before flickering away. No. I turned towards the floor-length mirror and picked up a clump of my hair. Since the moment I died and became a vampire, it had always been the same length. If I were to cut it, it would grow back the very next day. In the mirror, I could see Sana standing behind me, sneaking furtive glances up and down my form. Sana? She perked up when I twirled around to face her. Do one more thing for me. I walked over to the drawer and took something out. She gave me a befuddled expression when I placed the object in her hand. You don't want me to kill you with this, do you? I rolled my eyes. Why would I want to die from a pair of scissors, you fool? I faced the mirror again and held up the lengths of my hair. Chop it. Sana gaped at me. Don't be so dramatic. It will grow back to the way it was by morning. I stared in the mirror, studying the room I've haunted for so long. It's changed a lot in the centuries, but myself, the only things I've been able to change were the clothes and makeup I wear. Sana picked up a handful of the wavy strands at the base of my neck. I felt her warm fingers brush against my skin and suppressed a shiver. I see her hesitation in the mirror. Do it. She shears through my hair and it falls heavily to the floor. I rolled my shoulders, surprised by how I suddenly felt more exposed at the moment than when I'd been standing completely naked in front of Sana. I swallowed sickly from the feeling of her breast against the back of my neck. Y'all. Suddenly, I had felt so parched. Oh my god. I could see her pupils blow wide as she stared at my skin fiercely. Sana? Her eyes jumped to the mirror and I saw her eyes widen. Her gaze slid to the twitching wolf ears on her head, to which it seemed she never realized were even out, to something that isn't there. Do you think I'm pretty? Do I look nice? Do I still look like a monster? Do I look nice? The muscles in her neck tense as she focused on the spot where I should appear in the mirror, yet I do not. I hadn't seen my reflection in so long that I'd forgotten what I looked like. I could only tell whether I looked presentable or desirable if other people were looking at me. And if no one was around to look at me, I wondered if I even existed. These choices do feel like a minefield, you're right. I mean, this relationship is a minefield, so I feel like that's fitting. Sometimes, Sana, I will plant a seed in your heart as you have a reflection. Because you tended to look at me like you couldn't take your eyes off me. Whether it was hatred or something else, I needed her eyes to stay on me forever. Sana's gaze was intense as her eyes left the mirror and dropped down to me. She looked at me with pity, she looked at me with yearning, she looked at me like I was... Okay. She looked at me with yearning. Disgustingly so. Then... Oh! 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 Oh, okay, 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 okay. Oh my god, I feel no. This feels like an actual minefield of a question. I feel like one of them's gonna give us a heart, and the other one's gonna shatter the heart. I'm so. Oh my god. Oh. She or I. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Oh my god. Oh my god. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, restart your stream, guys. Oh my god. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We're gonna replay this. It's fine. 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 Guys, does she kiss us or do we kiss her? What should we do? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? I'm like... Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, she kisses us? Okay. She kissed me. Okay, 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 okay. My back slammed against the mirror, which rattled dangerously. We just started! We just started! Oh my god! It was like I became my own reflection and placed there because it was Sana looking at me. She knelt before me and planted a succession of kisses. Okay, it's okay, we're fine, 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 we're fine. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. This is a good reminder. Check the pin for the warnings. Cool, cool, okay, cool. Check the pin for the warnings. Cool, 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 cool. Okay. She knelt before me and planted a succession of kisses down my torso. I grabbed her hair to pull her back up so her soft lips could meet mine again. I lost myself in the bruising side of her mouth and gasped at the feeling of her tongue finding my own. She kissed me mercilessly. My hand on the back of her neck tilted her head so she could kiss me even harder. If she kissed me too lightly, I would start thinking this was just a figment of my imagination. The heart of Sana's body, her hands roaming over my ribs and her thumbs tracing my cheekbones, created a restless frenzy in me. For the first time, I craved the feeling of my body melting against another person's. In the past, I would never bat an eye when my coven would play with their food before eating it. It explained that it made it far more enjoyable, but I never felt the need to do the same when feeding. Oh my god, okay. But I never felt the need to do the same when feeding. Sana ignited a new feeling in my lower stomach that wasn't need, it was want. My brain felt fuzzy when Sana pulled away. I chased her lips, confused as to why she was stopping. I then remembered that she needed to breathe, unlike myself. Our lips are sticky as they part. I opened my eyes to see Sana's cheeks flushed and eyes clouded over. I memorized her features from her bright eyes to her plump bottom lip, now swollen because of me, to the lines around her mouth, to the strands of silver hair between my fingers. The warmth I felt suddenly chilled. Lycia, let's leave this place together. My head felt underwater. Her words were muffled to me. Sana lets out a soft grunt. My eyes fell down to her chest, where my hand had pierced her. God fucking... Can't have shit in this house. Blood gushed from her mouth, the last place I had visited. She looked at me in confusion, and I felt the same way. Why did I do that? Yeah, girl, me too. I don't know. My body moved on its own. A scream tore out of Sana's throat as I clawed and tore open her chest, desperate to see it. Oh, the thing that was meant to take, the thing that meant I could start over. The thing that was more precious to me than my own life. The thing was more precious to me than my own life? If this is a broken heart, I will actually just end stream. Okay. Stream continues. Behind the cage of her ribs, I could see it clearly. Her heart beat hard in my grip as I wrapped my hand around it and felt the warmth of her entrails that cushioned it. I yanked her heart out, her blood spraying all over me in the process. I crowded the still beating organ against my cheek as Hannah's body fell on top of me with one last breath. I laid there, staring at the ceiling in a cold shock, until her body lost all of its warmth. Yeah, the game just gives me the heart because it's like, wait. When I couldn't feel my legs anymore, I finally pushed her off of me. Something crinkled in her pocket. Numb, I dug out a piece of folded up parchment from it and smoothed it out. Scribbled over multiple sheets of paper was... me? I traced the messy strokes of charcoal that covered the pages. Most of them were terrible, but there was an obvious progression in skill as she drew me over and over again. I pulled the last page in front, and I knew more confidently that this was me. This is what I looked like. It always came back. This emotion that gave me a delusional sensation of warmth. It made the blood in my body feel like it was about to rush for my heart, pumping life into it once again. I've tried so many times to kill this feeling, but it jolts back to life with Sana every time. In the early days, it was so easy to destroy it. It didn't cling so hard. Now, it sticks like sick honey to the point that I can never completely wipe it clean from the walls of my heart. Again and again, it overcame me worse than my bloodlust and drove me into a madness. One that can never be cured, because how on earth could Sana love me back? Y'all! Oh my god. This is why communication is so important, guys. This is why communication is so important. I cried. I crawled from the floor to my bed in a blur. I curled into a ball in the middle of the sheets and stained the white linen with Sana's blood as I held it against my chest. Time passed ambiguously as I laid there, focusing on the beat of it, and losing myself in a dream where the rhythm of my heart harmonized with hers. If I laid there long enough, would this yearning disappear? Could time wear it down like waves to a cliffside? I suppose I had the privilege of finding out, so I closed my eyes and started waiting. Bitches don't confess their love anymore. They just rip your heart out of your chest and then just like lay in bed with it while your dead body's just on the ground at the feet of the bed. God forbid you confess like a normal person. Lucia, what does forever mean to you? It means I can be freed from stagnation and meet death like I was supposed to hundreds of years ago. Sana presses her hands to her face and starts breathing heavily. I will hold your... Yeah, new love language. I will hold your heart for you, literally. Genuinely. It just be like that. My body freezes at the familiarity of it. Do you really hate me so much? She lets out a pained grunt and I pinch my brows together. Is anything I do truly not enough? I jump as Sana screams and bowls over. Anxiety starts to dig its claws into me as I observe the quake of her shoulders and sheen of sweat over her skin. Yet, I still decide to twist the knife I've planted in Sana's heart. Did you really think I cared for you when all I've ever done is kill you? Girl. Sana goes still. I observe her with wide eyes, more nervous now than when she was writhing in agony. Then she starts laughing. I start to crawl back unconsciously, feeling incredibly unsettled by the way she suddenly got hysteric. Her upper torso bends back up and she throws her head back. I'm paralyzed with indecision over whether I should do something to stop her, and that feeling only doubles when her laugh turns into a wail. My spine goes stiff when she starts to scream out in agony. I stare in horror as her hands fly up and start to claw where her heart is. All of my resolve finally crumbles and I fling myself into the water without hesitation. Sana! Her claw shreds through flesh like she's trying to tear her own heart out. Black veins form over her skin. My jaw goes limp when I notice the glow of her heart, like it had become an infernal device shoved into her. I've stopped her from transforming before, but as I rush closer to her through the water, I realize that this is different. Sana's body sways and jerks as she continues to scream. I launch the last few feet to grasp onto her shoulders and try to steady her. Sana! Sana! I call out her name desperately, like it's capable of breaking any spell if I just say it enough times. Her eyes bleed red. I press my hand against where her heart is, then quickly rip it away with a hiss after it sears my skin. Gods, it was like her heart had been replaced with a shard of the sun. I looked at her in panic, feeling completely lost over what to do. Sana stumbles back and falls, taking me with her into the water. I cling to her and feel a sob tear out of my throat. Sana, what do I do? The spell on her heart is rebounding, and I don't know how to fix it. The water starts to feel uncomfortably warm. When I look around, I see bubbles start to rise around us. I watch in dread as limbs covered in a disturbing shade of red start to break through the surface of a dark pond. My eyes light back to Sana. I feel my heart break at the sight of that same red starting to spread over Sana's skin like a plague. I hold myself above her and watch her eyes roll back. My fingers brush her hair back from her face as she continues to thrash in pain, and in the corner of my eyes I can see her corpses rise. Tears drip down my chin. I suck in a breath. This is all my fault, isn't it? I give in to Sana's arms, wrapping around me. A horde of Sana's bodies moves through the water with their arms out, reaching for me. I let them pull me under into the deepest part of the pond and close my eyes in resignation. Water fills my lungs. I can't help the flail of my body as it painfully resists the flooding in my chest. The deeper I'm pulled down, the less I can see. But I can feel her. The arms that cling to me tightly are still Sana, no matter what form she takes. Maybe this is the only way I can get what I truly want. If this is how I get to be with you forever, Sana, then so be it. Okay. Oh, this is new. Hold on. I didn't know so much and I felt like I was fighting against the stars. She looked bored from where she stood. Her stature was tall and her clothes were simple. The cord of her tunic was untied and loose, revealing a stretch of skin. Her hair was long and untidy, like she was always running her hands through it. Her uneven posture appeared open and inviting. However, my eyes told me she was as friendly as a predator holding still, waiting for the moment their prey let their guard down. For context, if you guys remember in the first stream, this is like the part of the scene of the party. This entire section was not there originally. So this is we're new. This is new. Okay. On the wind, I picked up the scent of something rich and deep, like ash wood that had been burned. I wondered if my dessert had come to find me herself. I pounced, teeth bared, her mouth slipped into a wolfish grin. The werewolf stood across from me with her arms crossed. Blood spilled down the side of her neck, leaving a dark stain on her white collar. The light of the estate created a glowing halo in her light hair. It turned out that the haze of intoxication wasn't why she had appeared so otherworldly to me. What started as an epic fight to the death was my natural enemy, quickly turned into a pathetic tangle of rabbit kicks and hair pulling in the grass. Okay. I'm pretty sure the original choice wasn't this. Was it? Sending someone to do the job for her. Yeah, that's new. This is new as well. Okay, so I'm trying to get the good ending, so we're gonna start just saving at any choice now. If it's one I'm unsure if it could be a good choice or not. I refuse to die at someone else's hands. Good, okay, cool. If she wants me dead, she has to do it herself. Okay. Oh, this is a new choice. Sana discreetly appeared behind my cage. I immediately tried to claw at her face. So, yeah, I believe you can't get the good ending first try then. Because that's a completely new choice that just popped up. And that one gave a heart. So, I immediately tried to claw at her face. She hissed at the scratch I had left on her cheek and yelled at me in a hushed tone. Can you fucking stop it? I'm here to get you out. After you got me in here. I'm not the one who threw you into a cage. You may as well have. Sana makes an exasperated noise and throws her hands up. She sneaks to the front of the cage as the hunters busy themselves. Just sit there and look pretty like you do best, okay? I have a better idea. Oh, hunters! Have you ever caught a werewolf before? Sana mumbles something and my ears perk up to hear it. I went back to get you, but you were already gone. Yep, this is new. This is new. From the original. Sana starts to ravage the hunters. I knew my wolf girlfriend wouldn't just abandon me like this. I watched in a daze as she gradually transformed into a beast. Claws and teeth ripped through the hunters like paper. The sound of screams bounced off the trees and rattled the leaves. Firearms rounds pelted Sana with holes, and daggers pierced through her thick hide as the hunters fought back. Soon enough, the only one left standing was Sana. Barely. I watched her sway on her feet before her knees gave out on her. She bent over as her bones began to crack. The fur over her skin retreated, and her entire form started to shrink back to normal. Her lips parted with a gasp as she stood once again. She found my arms and lumbered over to me. Shaky hands ripped out the stakes, pinning me to the grass, and snapped them into splinters before tossing them away. After pulling out the last one, she collapsed onto her side. I let out a shudder as my wounds closed and I sat up. My nails finally finished growing back by the time I threw myself at her. I trapped Sana under my weight and wrapped my hands around her throat. I'm impressed! Sana sucks in a sharp breath as I run a sharp nail down her cheek. I never thought you would have the guts to make them torture me like that. You should have finished me off while I was weak. I tilt my head. But I guess you wouldn't be able to take full credit for killing a bloodsucker like me. Sana looks at me incredulously. I was trying to save us, you fucking freak! I blinked at her, not understanding the point she was trying to make. Then I noticed her clothes were drenched in blood. Her blood. Werewolves are so slow at healing. Sana clenched her jaw, then let out a scoff. Dark circles stood out starkly against her pale cheeks. I paused. She was too pale. I must have made an obvious expression because Sana chuckles when she sees my face. Silver. What terrible luck, huh? I stayed silent. Sana laid limply underneath me and stared at the sky. The sun will start to rise soon. I ignored her. She looked down. At some point, I had started to grip her shredded shirt in my hands. My features pinched together like I had tasted something bitter. Her breathing started to turn into a wet rattle. Sorry, Alicia. My vision blurred for a moment. My thoughts raced with a single word. No. I leaned down and cradled Sana's cold cheeks as blood started to spill from her mouth. You're only allowed to die in my hands, Sana. I am far from done with you. I hunted all night for her and found her in a worn tent in the darkest corner of the forest. I looked down indifferently as she scraped out the marrow from some poor creature's bones over a small cauldron. She gave me a pleasant smile as I dropped Sana's half-dead body in front of her. Sorry, my nose is itchy. Her appearance looked frail and innocent, with morning colors hanging from her sharp frame. But I knew she was anything but helpless. I lifted my chin high as I addressed her. How about a deal, witch? Even if you didn't show up and get yourself caught like an idiot, I would have gotten myself free. Sana tips her head to the side and contemplates that for a moment. But if I didn't come, you would have been much more angry with me. I've never wanted you to hate me. I feel my brow twitch. Why not? I hugged my torso. Why would that even matter? Is hate or not oh my god, can I talk? Sorry, the lesbianism has taken over my body. There's too many pretty women in front of me, I can't speak. My bad. Anyways. Is hate unnatural for us? Hate is a strong emotion. Even if it changes, its strength stays the same. Sana cups her hands and pulls water into her palms. She raises her hands, letting it cascade through her fingers. Each time you killed me, was it because you hated me? I freeze. My mouth clamps shut. Good. She gives me a small smile. I want to wipe it off her face. The way she looks at me makes me feel exposed. How could I let you fall into anyone else's hands but mine? If I wasn't, neither of us would be here right now. Interesting explanation. It still hurts like hell. I believe originally this was what I chose. That might have been the only choice we had, actually. I don't remember. I can seg my stars then. I side-eyed Sana. You really didn't hold back on those hunters. Aren't you grateful I didn't? I wanted to return the pain they caused you tenfold. It was the least I could do after putting you through all that. It would have been very gallant of you if you hadn't gotten yourself killed doing it. Oh my god. It's having mercy on me. It's letting me get the good ending this time. It's like okay, you suffered the bad ending. I'll be nice to you and let you get the good ending this time. Shouldn't that make it even more gallant? I didn't die in vain, did I? That's to be debated. Tell me the truth. You enjoyed it a little, right? Let me load this real quick and see if this pops up a heart. Okay. Okay, good. That was good. I'm glad I did it. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it or something. No, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm losing it a little bit. Sana's eyes go sharp. I decided that I liked it so much I couldn't just see it once. I decided that I liked it so much I couldn't just see it once. Although that said, some of the choices that are giving hearts are completely new choices. So yeah, very much so. And then like a good ending is like pretty sure you can't get it in the first play. I decided I liked it so much I couldn't just see it once. My eyes trail over Sana's body, studying it. Okay. Sana crosses her arms as she watches me. I find all the different things that never used to be there when she was younger. New moles, new wrinkles, the lengths of her hair, the creases around her eyes. All the things I failed to notice last time. You've changed a lot on the outside, but not so much on the inside. Are you impressed by how springly I still am? Oh my god. Are you impressed by how sprightly I still am? I look at her and feel something charged sitting dormant in the pit of my stomach. Impressed isn't the right word. Fooled is more accurate. Yay! Sana lets out a small chuckle. There we go. To expect a vampire then to be noisy at this time of day. Well, I guess not, but this place just feels deader than usual, you know? I press my lips. There's less dead people in it. Shouldn't it be livelier then? I only waited up to make sure you didn't come back wrong. There's less dead people. Shouldn't it be livelier? Okay. I wanted to encourage her to bite and scratch all she wanted. I was already too addicted to the way that face made me feel. This is a new choice! This is a new choice! Oh! She then spills my goblet of blood onto herself. I'm pretty sure that's the choice, but just in case. Woo! My reaction was instantaneous. Like a thread that had been snapped, my reason was thrown out the window as I leaped over the back of the city and landed on Santa's lap. Whoa. Oh my god. Oh my god. My vision blurred with thirst as I gripped her shirt and slipped my tongue over the skin of her neck, lapping up all the blood that had spilled onto her. Okay. The goblet I was holding fell to the floor with a muffled clang. I felt Santa crowd the back of my head with her hand. I gasped like I was starving for air. I'm losing my mind. Guys, I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. She held my head as though she was encouraging me to feast. She let out a grunt when I shifted my weight and roughly pushed her down into the cushion. Woo! My hands tore open the collar of her shirt, and I laughed at the blood that had dripped down her chest. Oh, okay. It wasn't until I pierced her throat with my fangs that I felt rationality return to me, like a cold bucket of water had been dumped over my head. I gagged and shoved myself away. My back bowed on the floor and I lurched as I vomited the scarlet contents of my stomach. My eyes flicked to Santa after I'd finished. She looked at me with disappointment. Yay! God, I'm losing my mind so hard right now. Who it was for, I could not tell. There've been a lot of hunters in the area. They've gotten very good at hunting us. I almost pressed a hand to my stomach where hunger gnaws through me from the inside out. Instead, I just looked down at the grass. You would have just died with them? Yes, okay. The only thing that would have changed is that I would have lost Santa too, and I refused to lose her like this. If it weren't for this stupid game, I could have at least seen them one more time. My eyes flickered to Santa's extending claws and canines. I tried to ignore the small pang I felt at Santa's words, but it caught me by surprise. It's a good... Then she reaches down and grabs the daggers from my boots. Confusion snapped away all the tension from my body. Santa's claws slowly trailed down the length of my legs. The panic I felt before was quickly replaced with shock. Her bulky form kneeled down before me. I could feel something in the pit of... Girl! Licia, stand up! Licia, stand up for yourself, girl. Stand up! My nails scratched at the bark of the tree behind me as I clung to it. The rain that dripped down my neck made me shiver. I swallowed sickly when she stopped her hands at my ankles for just a moment before she unceremoniously unsheathed the daggers in my boots. I balked at her. A more pathetic sound has never passed my lips. How on earth did she know I had those? With great embarrassment, I realized her petting was not just to tease me. Santa wasn't finished, even after she acquired both my daggers. My lips parted with a gasp when one of her hands strayed under my skirt. Heavy from the rain, they stuck to my legs. She pushed them up, exposing them to the open air. What in God's name are you doing? She rose to her full height and completely eclipsed my figure. Her red eyes held me captive. I felt the tips of her claws scrape against the fabric of my stockings. Sana? For once, not needing to breathe was a pleasant side effect. I could hold my breath for eternity and it would bring me no pain. As a fledgling, the changes to my autonomy were a small price to pay for eternity. But then I started to watch the centuries pass by from my bedroom window. The trees outside would change color, the grass and flowers would wither, then spring back to vibrancy after monotonous winter. I'd see the lights of the town grow brighter every year as new people arrived, then stayed. And all I did was watch. Sometimes I would blink, and for a moment the glass window would look just like caged bars. With all the time at my disposal, I spent so much of it lost in thought. What if I'd been a fool this whole time? What if infinity actually took away my ability to truly feel alive, and this whole time I've just been grasping for a gross mimicry of what it may look like? Perhaps I never knew what it meant to be full of life. So on the night I became a vampire. What did I have to lose? If I were still alive at that moment, would my heart be racing? Would my lungs feel like they were on the verge of erupting? Would my cheeks be burning hot enough that steam would start rising from my skin? Is this a true price I paid for immortality? If I found the answer to an enriched life, I wouldn't know it? Sana, are you still in there? Or does your brain shrink to the size of a dog's every full moon? Shouldn't you be tearing me apart right now? Uncertainty dripped off my words. My heart hadn't lifted a beat for a very long time. Sometimes I wondered if I could even recognize my own emotions if it wasn't around to tell me what I was feeling. But in that moment, I knew if it did work, it would be hammering away against my ribs as this werewolf caressed my bare thigh. Is this okay for you too? She gave the flesh of my thigh a quick squeeze before she grabbed the third dagger under my garter, and I did nothing when stand with my mouth completely agape. Sana's body heat radiated off her body. This was the closest to flesh I'd felt in hundreds of years. The feeling of her warmth clouded over my thoughts and made me surrender to the spiral I was slowly falling into. I almost didn't register my own dagger stabbing through my hands. I blinked. My head swung from side to side in panic as I saw my arms spread wide and my hands pinned to the thick trunk of the oak tree. A hiss passed through my teeth as I threw a fierce gaze at Sana. I opened my mouth to scream at her, just as she stabbed the third dagger through the center of my throat. I choked on the blood pooling in my throat. Fucking really? Sana snorted in my face, then pulled back. I attempted to push out the daggers from my hands, and winced from the pain that shot through my arms like lightning. She had to shove them down to the damn hilt. I clenched my teeth and glared up at her. Take them out! My whole body flinched when Sana suddenly surged forward with her teeth bared. A thought spiked with a mortal fear surfaced in my mind. She could have killed me, right then and there. But instead she snapped her jaws shut, turned, and left me pinned to the tree. I slumped back, feeling like it was the destruction left in the wake of the storm. A lungful of blood pooled out of my mouth. My clothes were disheveled, my body was drenched, and my own fucking daggers had nailed me to a tree. Watching Sana's back disappear into the mist. I couldn't let her just leave? Okay. Why? Why did I suddenly feel like I was suffocating? Sana can't leave. A force in my chest consumed me until I was tearing my hands away from the tree. A scream tore out of my throat, but not from the pain. From fear. Fear that I would never see Sana again if I let her disappear like that. I dislodged the dagger from my neck and flung it aside, then ran into the mist, chasing ghosts shaped like Sana. The fog grew sicker and sicker until I could barely see my own hands through it. Any disturbance I created would be undone in moments. In some places, the fog was thick as walls. I passed through them feeling like a ghost, wondering if I'd somehow gone to the afterlife without noticing. I felt imprisoned, sentenced to run around in circles. It was like that for the rest of the night. I searched in vain until I was forced to huddle in the shadows of a rocky overhang to avoid the sun. I couldn't find her. I couldn't find her. I don't know what to do without you around. You left a crater in your wake, and even when I tried to fill it, nothing was ever enough. Maybe I wanted you to chase me? Yay! Like you would have run after someone else. You're hard to kill, Lycia. I recall you having me at your complete mercy when you pinned me to the goddamn oak tree. Well, that wasn't the part I struggled with. Then I clears her throat, then gives me a toothy grin. But I do like it when you're more of a challenge. At that time, you were a hungry vampire. I made you vulnerable and unstable. I had the most fun when you were at the top of your game. That was a waste of a good opportunity. I really thought you would finally finish me off. Do you really wish you were ended back then? By a werewolf? Good. But if I was, I might not be in this state. My jaw clicks shut. I shouldn't have said that. My eyes flicker to Sana nervously. She's wearing a coquettish expression. Oh, she's so smug. She's so smug. Girl is like, ooh. Girl is like, hey, hey, I went right to you. Hey, hey. Like, she's acting so cocky, and then she's literally, like, running in circles trying to figure out how she's gonna confess to this girl, and her idea for confession is like, I'm just gonna let her kill me. Like, girl, you do not have the upper hand. Neither of you have the upper hand. Neither of you are standing up. And what state is that? I swallow and deflect. All your petting just to steal my daggers was unnecessary. You have a fetish for catching young maidens off guard like that. Sana's eyes widen by a fraction. She turns away shyly and covers the bottom half of her face with her hand. Why are you shy over that? I love you so much, Sana. You're driving me insane. You're driving me insane. What a ridiculous notion. Your imagination must have been running wild, Lycia. Or perhaps you enjoy being seduced by a beast. What a shameless thing to suggest. Sana drops her hand and reveals the slight upturn of her mouth before it falls back into a neutral expression. You ran after me. I rubbed my hand along my arm awkwardly under Sana's wide eyes. I thought I had crossed the line and would never see you again. Her eyes go soft, patient, like I was a flighty animal that might run off from any sudden movement. She looks down at the water somberly. I was in so much pain that day. In a moment I lost everything, and I hated you for waiting so long to wake me up. I clenched my fist in my lap and sealed my lips together, worried my mouth would turn traitorous and say something that closes Sana off to me once more. I don't know if I'll ever fully let that go, but I was also stupidly reckless back then. I saw you were suffering because of those hunters too. We were sentenced to a life of hardship when we became what we are. I was deeply upset with you, but there were people I hated far more. My sting, I blinked to make it go away. I'm happy at least. You know you were afraid of losing me. My head snaps up. I feel my chest tighten at the soft smile she gives me. Deserve it? Yippee! I like how everything's happening. I just go yippee because I get a little heart pop up. You know, sometimes I found it really annoying that you were a werewolf. Strange how that only annoyed you sometimes. I cough into my fist and look off to the side. You look human. You can walk around in the daytime, you eat like any other mortal, so I think it's valid to say that for the most part, I could easily forget what you are. Then it gives me an unconvinced look. Sure. Coupled with the fact that you were always following me around. Lycia, get to the point already. My cheeks would probably be a bright red if I had a working circulation. I furrow my brows and squeeze my eyes shut as I swallow my pride for just a moment. I really wanted to drink your blood. I peek an eye open. Sana is staring at me like I've grown a second head. Doesn't it taste repulsive to you? I huffed. It does, but I wish it didn't. Sana takes a moment to process my words. When she finally does, a deep red blooms across her cheeks. She looks at me in wide-eyed wonder. So, you just wanted to drink from me? My lips part in shock. My admission was much more humiliating when it was stripped down to the bone, exposing the fact that I simply wanted to sink my fangs into Sana's neck and enjoy it. I spin my head away quickly enough to make my vision swim. I'm not saying any more. My eyes snap shut, shielding me from the haughty expression I know Sana is wearing, but I can still hear the smugness in her voice. Trust me, you've said plenty. Before? Not quite. This wasn't the choice originally. This? Oh my god, PNG 2 are just fucking crashed on me. Girl. Whatever. This wasn't there before. This said something different than the original. Sana's mouth fell open. I smoothed out the wrinkles on my sheets. In something dramatic. Honestly, doesn't she know 50 years is nothing to me? Why? I sighed. Put on godhood like one of my dresses. Being mortal tends to make you feel above mortals. but I started feeling like I was less than them. Maybe I wanted to bring some of the immense power I used to feel was lying dormant under my skin. I thought I could do better than God if I felt like it. I could feel Sana's eyes boring holes into the side of my head and blew out an annoyed breath. I raked my nails through my messy hair and distracted myself by untangling the knots. The room started to close in on me. I looked to the window at the slice of daylight peeking through the closed curtain. Open the curtains. Sana blinked. The sun is still out. I'm aware. Open it. Please. I felt a weight slip off my shoulder when light flooded the room. Sana sat on the edge of my bed again and remained in the shadows, just shy of where the light landed. I crawled forward and put a hand on her chest, then shoved her back. Sana yelped as she flew back. After her back hit the bed, she squinted at the sun in her eyes and brought up a hand to shield them. Licia? Sana gawked when I framed her body with my hands and knees right before the shadows got. My head was inches away from being scorched. If the light was all God could see, it was fine if I was on wholly outside of it, right? Was I ever evil if he wasn't looking when I did bad things? My eyes burned down at her. Being without my coven meant I had to learn how to get good at hunting. And I did. It was so easy luring in men and women to sneak off into the dark with me. I barely even used my thrall to get them bearing their pulses to me. Drinking blood has always been a need. I barely had time to consider my action because I was just trying to live like everyone else. Drinking blood has all. So what if people had to die for me to do so? I felt like I had become a poisonous flower, something that attracts just so it could kill. But then I started to slip. I made the mistake of learning the names of my meals. Something heavy started to form in my chest. Sana stared up at me silently. Spent hours talking to a boy with the wildest dark curls I'd ever seen. A bird could have made a nest in his hair. He showed me poetry about the moon that I found so lovely. He had changed how I looked at it forever. There was a flush in his cheeks when he looked at me. After I pressed a kiss against his pulse, I drained it away. As I drank from him, I felt him stop fighting. My hands shook as I raised them, and I fell back to sit on Sana's legs. Sana leaned up on her elbows, but she was a blur in the background to me. Next thing I knew, I was trying to make him like me. Sana tensed under me, and I made a bitter laugh. Don't worry, I failed. Not an easy task to make a human a vampire, and he was already gone by the time my regret had surfaced. My expression went dark. I succeeded the second time, though. Sana pressed her lips together like she was trying to suppress a question, and I knew what she wanted to ask. I also knew she had already figured out the answer. For a whole month, I went on a bit of a human collection spree. When I found one interesting, I turned them, thinking I was handing out blessings, when really it was curses. After those weeks, I created a whole new coven. A very hungry one. I had the size of a coven, but not the resources to take care of one like my siblings did. Things got messy fast. My starving fledglings wreaked havoc on the town the second the sun went down. I couldn't control them. This is the part of the story where the wings I made with feathers and beeswax started falling apart. All the humans I found so incredible had become unrecognizable because of me. I'm sure you've already figured out how this ends. Sana gives me a sympathetic look that I found unnecessary. I had more than enough time to heal this wound. The scars may sting, but they no longer rip me apart. My coven returned. They fixed the mess I made by killing all the fledglings. Letting them die that way, I wonder if it was more merciful to kill them while they were still human. You probably saw it, right? It was broken. It only took me 50 years. That's a long time, Licia. Not to me. To be trapped in a coffin. I startled when Sana sat up abruptly and moved back. The upper part of her body sat covered in light while I remained sheltered in the shadows. Sana's chest heaved as she grabbed hold of my upper arms. When I found you, you were under a pile of blankets during the day. You were barely even alive. Her voice cracked and I studied the stress on her face with narrowed eyes. Your whole body was horribly burned, like you'd been out there for days. Why would you do that? I bristled. Maybe I just wanted to see you. When I got out, After all that time, I was so desperate to see you. I thought if I could just see you again, it would be like none of those years even happened. I could feel tears begin to prick my eyes. You see me do so many terrible things, but I did things I really regretted during that time. I didn't want you to see me fall from up so high. I waited weeks for you to wake up. I sucked in a shaky breath and lifted a hand, moving it towards Sana. Being inside four walls made me feel like I was suffocating. What did the sun's ire matter when I thought I would finally get to see you again? Sana's hand shot out, and her fingers intertwined with mine to keep my own away from the light. The urgency in her voice sends me into shock. You idiot! You know I can help coming back to you every time I leave. I tensed when Sana started breathing raggedly. Her chest expanded rapidly with harsh gasps, and she pressed her hands to her face. I saw her nails start to curve and sharpen, while the points of her teeth began to elongate. I immediately snapped to attention. Oh hells. Sana? Are you losing control right now? Sana shoved me back and curled in on herself. I reached for her. Sana, you have to calm down. Get away. No! You better snap out of it right out now. I heard Sana's bones start to break so they could reform. She growled. Licia. I cursed and tried to think of what I should do. Correct one. I don't know if that's the correct one. Hold on. Let me just try another one. Okay, that was not the correct one. That was funny though. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. I threw myself forward. Sana! I could hear my skin start to sizzle in the light, but I clenched my jaw and grabbed her distorting face in my hands. Look at me, damn it! Sana's eyes were glazed over, but I saw her nostrils flare, and suddenly she had snapped back to consciousness. Her eyes finally looked at me clearly, and they blew wide. Shit, Licia! She lunged forward and pushed me out of the sun. I let out a grunt as I hit the mattress roughly. I looked up and breathed out a sigh of relief when Sana's canine features started to dissolve back to normal. Her expression was furious. I could cover an entire wall tallying up all the stupid things you do, Licia. I wrinkled my nose. Got you snapped out of it, didn't I? Sana blew out an exasperated breath and looked at me grimly. She lifted a hand. I winced when she touched it. It only took us seconds for it to smooth out this time. I could see the tension slip off Sana's shoulders. Why did you have to get yourself hurt, though? Sana gets off me and I straighten myself out before planting my feet on the ground. Oh, this is new. The choice wasn't, but this is new. She thoroughly cleaned every inch of my skin, from the back of my ears to the underside of my nails, to the bottom of my feet. Her eyes ran over my skin intensely as she worked, like she was ensuring not a single speck of grime was left. I stared down at her as she kneeled down in front of me and scrubbed the sponge along my calf. When she looked up at me, I saw that suddenly developed a pulse. I almost pressed a hand to my chest to double check. Sana searched for something in my features as she replaced the sponge on my calf with her hand. One of her ears flicked. It's all clean now? I narrowed my eyes, puzzled by the phrasing of her question. It didn't sound like she was asking about my body. As I considered her implications, a feeling started to overwhelm me. My chest felt tight as I stared down at her. It's all been cleared now. I hastily pulled my leg from her grip and grabbed a clean linen cloth to pad myself dry. That's enough. Do you think I'm pretty? Ooh, that's a heart. She looked at me with yearning. Okay. That's a heart! My back slammed against the mirror, which rattled dangerously. Okay, we can skip the parts we've already read. Was scared? Okay. I don't need a mirror to know I haven't changed in hundreds of years. But Sana, I could see proof of time on her. It felt brutal, in that moment, to be reminded of the harsh truth But I couldn't have Sana forever. I never felt the end loom so closely. I felt like I was running out of time with her. Okay. Cried? Good, okay. It means I get to spend every day with you. Sana gives me a brilliant smile. Licia, I'm sorry. My body goes tense. It's just too hard for me to kill you. I blink. Because I'm a vampire? She lets out a chuckle and shakes her head as she starts moving to the edge of the pond. You were right when you started getting suspicious of me for always failing to kill you. I always wanted to keep you on edge, just enough so you wouldn't get bored and toss me away. She stops right in front of me and reaches for me with her hands. I lean into her touch. Her smile widens. I could never kill you, because I kept getting blinded by how madly in love with you I was. Woo! My breast hitched. I press a hand to my chest to check if my heart had exploded without my knowledge. I stare at her like she was crazy. Tears start to prick my eyes. My bed, your grave, our therapy. You. Since the very first day, I was falling in love, and you were falling apart. Didn't realize it until everything you told me just now. That was just what it looked like when you were falling too. My head starts to feel light. Since the first day, what a dark night to find someone you love. Can something good even be found in the dark? It's the only place I can find you, so I think so. I turn my head away in shame. How so? How can you possibly love someone like me? How? Because you're you. Oh my god. She tucks on my chin to face her again and crawls out of the pond to lean over me. Because Licia, I'm just as crazy as you are. I feel a shudder crawl up my spine. I sense my feelings finally starting to overflow as tears blur the edge of my vision. She cuts me off with a kiss that knocks us both down to the grass. I gasp into it. It's not like the first kiss. That kiss was heated and dubiously motivated. This one is devoid of desperation and full of confidence in our feelings for each other. I place my hand on her chest as I press my lips against hers hand. My whole body freezes when I feel her heartbeat. And how weak it is. Sana detaches from me and lays down in the grass beside me as I look at her in alarm. Sana, you're... I know. I turn onto my side and move her hair from her face. She grabs onto my hand and presses it against her cheeks. After a moment, her yellow eyes find mine again. I don't think my heart can bounce back anymore, Licia. I almost shut out her words completely. But what will I do if I lose you? If this is all I have left with you, I've wasted so much time. Tears start to streak down my face. Sana wipes them away. It wasn't all for nothing, not to me. I got the chance to love you all this time, and now I'll get to have you loving me back for the rest of my life. How could I ask for more? I start to sob. She notices and presses her head against mine and holds me tight. Oh my god! Just stay with me, Licia, forever. However long that ends up meaning. I press my eyes shut and clutch onto her. That's not fair, Sana. Forever means completely different things to us. You can't make my dead heart feel alive and expect you... Oh, sorry, I'm freaking out. I'm reading things wrongly. I'm losing my fucking mind. You can't make my dead heart feel alive and expect me to live without you. Sana stares at me in deep contemplation. What if I could change your definition of forever? Sana? Licia, give me your hand. In a puzzled daze, I offer her my hand. She rubs her thumb over my knuckles and kisses the tips of my fingers. Then she bites down hard on the flesh between my thumb and index finger. I yelp and pull my hand back to see a mess of bloody teeth marks. The bite feels strangely warm and makes my heart thump nervously. I look at Sana with wide eyes and can only stare as she observes me expectantly. What did you just do? Her eyes grow when I start breathing heavily. Heat surges through me and crawls up my neck until I'm feeling feverish. Sana, I feel strange. Her hand reaches forward and presses against my forehead. Sana stares at me in awe. She slides her hand down my face and neck until her palm is right over my heart. Her mouth rolls open in shock before looking at me with a wide grin. Licia, we match now. I scrunch up my face in confusion. Then I finally notice it. My heartbeat. I roll my eyes as a pair of drunk boys run past us, wielding fake knives and screaming bloody murder. Her arm snakes around my waist, and I turn to rub my arms around her neck. I nod my head at the drink hanging limply in her hand. Isn't that a waste of money? I can't get drunk. Sana shrugs and gives me a lopsided smile. Wouldn't it be weird to be at a bar and not drink? I open my mouth to answer her, but someone interrupts me. Oh, your ears are so cute! My head turns to a pair of girls that are completely plastered already. Their faces are flushed and their matching devil angel costumes are disheveled. The girl in the angel costume points at the wolf ears on top of my head. They look so soft. Can I touch them? Better not. They're sensitive. The girl gasps into her hand. Those look uncomfortable. Sana laughs and pokes at the fake vampire tee she's wearing. They're Luckily, they're not real, or I would go crazy. I watch the girl's cheeks grow even redder and narrow my eyes. She leans into my ear to whisper something and doesn't take her eyes off Sana. Scored yourself a silver fox, huh? Wolf is probably more accurate, but I sure did. Watch out, she bites. The girl jumps when I snap my teeth at her. Her devil friend weaves her arms together so she can hold her away from us. Girl, they look like they were about to kill us. Also, did you see your fake ears moving? My ear twitches as I turn to Sana. She runs her hand along my jaw, then intertwines our fingers together. Her thumb rubs over the ring of scars she left there. I think you scared them. They looked at you for too long. True, but you should have been looking at you. But they should have been looking at you instead. Sana dips down and brushes her lips to the length of my neck, making me tilt my head to the side. Across the room, I see us in the reflection of a mirror. Still strange being able to see myself, but maybe not as strange as the piercing yellow eyes that reflect back at me. Yeah. If you liked the game, I definitely recommend downloading it. It's free, but you're able to donate. It's basically like a name your own price, right? So if you're able to, I definitely recommend supporting the creator. You can find the link to the game in the description. I also recommend checking out the Central as well. Either playing it on your own or checking out my video on it. Please do be aware that it was the first half of it or so, the audio is messed up because it was with my old microphone when it was breaking on me before I got my current new microphone, so the audio is gonna be a little bit weird. Yeah, I honestly, maybe I will replay the Centra. I don't know if on stream or if I'll just re-record it so that I can make sure the audio is fine all the way through. But I don't know. Having said that, bye bye guys. Leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff. You've been on YouTube, you know how it works. And I'll see y'all next time. Yeah? Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye.